Picture a scene of cosmic struggle. High above the mortal world, a warrior stands defiant against a monstrous serpent whose coils could crush mountains. Lightning flashes, illuminating his divine form, and in the center of his forehead, a third eye blazes with the power to see through all illusions, to perceive the very truth of the universe. This is not just any god, this is Erlang Shen, also known as Yang Jian, one of the most celebrated, powerful, and paradoxically complex figures in all of Chinese mythology. We often think of deities as distant, perfect beings, removed from the messy affairs of the world, but his story shatters that notion. It's an epic woven with threads of incredible power and deeply human conflict, a narrative where celestial duty collides with the complicated bonds of family. To understand Erlang Shen is to dive into a legend that has captivated millions for centuries, a tale that resonates because it's about more than just divine might. He is the divine enforcer, the celestial champion called upon when heaven itself faces its greatest threats. With his trusty three-pointed double-edged spear and his faithful heavenly hound by his side, he embodies order and justice. Yet, beneath that formidable exterior lies a story filled with personal sacrifice, a strained relationship with his own uncle, the formidable Jade Emperor, and a past shadowed by a family secret so profound it would define his entire destiny. This is what makes his journey so compelling. He is a god who walks the line between his unwavering celestial responsibilities and the very mortal emotions of loyalty, duty, and love. So, how did this warrior, this three-eyed god, ascend to such an exalted and complicated position in the celestial hierarchy? What were the trials that forged him, and what does his enduring popularity tell us about the values and hopes of the culture that created him? We are about to embark on a journey into the heart of Chinese folklore to unravel the legends of Erlang Shen. We will explore his origins, his most famous battles where he tamed raging floods and subdued ancient demons, and the poignant family drama that gives his character such profound depth. This is more than a simple recounting of myths. It is an exploration of a figure who is both a symbol of ultimate power and a reflection of our own struggles with duty and family. So prepare to step into a world of gods and monsters, of epic quests and intimate conflicts, as we uncover the astonishing story of the three-eyed god. Our story begins not with a triumphant battle, but with a profound act of forbidden love that would set the entire celestial drama in motion. High in the heavens, the Jade Emperor ruled with absolute authority, his word constituting the supreme law of the cosmos. Among his closest family was his beloved sister, a goddess known for her compassion and beauty. The celestial edicts were clear and uncompromising. The immortal denizens of heaven were strictly forbidden from forming romantic attachments with mortals, for such unions disrupted the natural order and blurred the sacred lines between the divine and the earthly realms. Yet the heart is not so easily governed by decree. During a visit to the mortal world, the Jade Emperor's sister encountered a mortal scholar named Yang Jian. Their connection was immediate and deep, a bond that transcended the cosmic hierarchy. Defying the stern laws of her brother's court, she chose love over duty, marrying Yang Jian in secret and retreating to a life away from the watchful eyes of heaven. This secret, however, could not remain hidden forever. The union of a goddess and a mortal man produced a child, Yang Jian, a boy born with the latent power of the heavens flowing through his veins, yet destined to walk the earth. When news of this transgression finally reached the Jade Emperor, his wrath was as immense as his authority. This was not merely a broken rule, it was a personal betrayal and a direct challenge to his sovereignty. The very fabric of cosmic order seemed threatened by this act of familial defiance. In a terrible display of retribution, the Jade Emperor ordered his sister to be captured and imprisoned beneath a massive, enchanted mountain. There she would remain for centuries, sealed away from the world of light and love, a perpetual prisoner paying the price for her heart's choice. This single, brutal act of celestial punishment created a foundational schism, a wound in the fabric of the divine family that would never fully heal. For the young Yang Jian, this tragedy was the crucible that forged his destiny. He was raised by his mortal father, living with the dual identity of a celestial outcast, aware of his divine heritage yet severed from it by the same authority that defined it. This unique origin, a blend of mortal resilience and innate divine power, is what granted him his extraordinary potential. He was not a pure-blooded god detached from humanity, nor was he a mere mortal limited in scope. He was something entirely new, a bridge between worlds, possessing a strength that was tempered by an understanding of human suffering. The injustice suffered by his mother ignited a fierce, independent spirit within him. It instilled a deep-seated skepticism of inflexible authority, even when that authority was embodied by his own uncle, the ruler of the cosmos. This complex heritage didn't just give him power, it gave him a cause, a personal quest for justice that would define his path and forever color his relationship with the celestial bureaucracy he would one day both serve and challenge. And it was this unique heritage and the burning desire to free his mother that drove Yang Jian on a path of cultivation and growth, a journey that would unlock the most defining feature of his divine identity. We've seen the stage set by family drama and cosmic lore, but now we must turn our attention to the very feature that makes him instantly recognizable, that incredible third eye vertically situated in the center of his forehead. In the vast pantheon of world mythology, few physical attributes are as iconic or as loaded with meaning. This is not merely a distinctive mark or a simple tool. It is the ultimate expression of his power and purpose, a literal and symbolic window into the very nature of truth itself. So what exactly does this third eye do? On a fundamental, practical level, its power is absolute clarity. It sees through every form of deception the cosmos can conjure. A demon might shroud itself in a beautiful, harmless form. A powerful illusion might create entire false landscapes to lead travelers astray, or a cunning spirit might weave a web of lies so intricate it could fool the heavens themselves. To Erlang Shen's third eye, these deceptions are utterly meaningless. The eye pierces through the veil of mere appearance, perceiving the underlying essence of all things. It discerns the true spiritual nature of any being, revealing malevolence cloaked in light and virtue hidden in darkness, but its function isn't purely passive observation. In the heat of battle, this eye can project concentrated beams of devastating energy, radiant blasts of pure celestial power that can smite evil and obliterate dark forces. It is both a shield against falsehood and a sword against corruption, making him the ultimate arbiter in a universe where reality can be so easily manipulated. The symbolism of this extraordinary ability runs even deeper than its combat applications. Across many Eastern spiritual traditions, the concept of a third eye, or the eye of wisdom, is central. It represents a state of heightened perception that transcends the limitations of our ordinary five senses. Our two physical eyes can be fooled by illusions. They see only the surface, the temporary, the material world. But the third eye is the gateway to a higher consciousness. It is the organ of spiritual awakening, allowing one to perceive the underlying truths of existence, the eternal laws of karma, and the interconnectedness of all life. For Erlang Shen, this symbolism is perfectly embodied. His eye isn't just a weapon, it is a constant state of enlightenment. It means he can never be lied to, never be misled by appearances, and never lose sight of what is fundamentally real and true. In a celestial bureaucracy that could sometimes be mired in politics and procedure, his third eye made him the ultimate enforcer of objective, cosmic justice. This profound symbolism extends into the very heart of his character arc. Remember his origin, a child born from a secret union, raised in a world of half-truths, whose mother was hidden away by a decree that masked personal wrath with the language of cosmic law. His entire life was shaped by a reality that was obscured from him. The awakening of his third eye can be seen as the ultimate answer to that personal history. It is the power that ensures he will never again be a victim of hidden truths or celestial secrets. It empowers him to cut through the obscuring layers of authority, tradition, and deception to uphold a purer, more fundamental form of righteousness. He doesn't just follow the rules as they are written, he sees the spirit of the law itself. This makes him a terrifying figure to those who rely on illusion and a comforting one to those who seek genuine justice. The third eye, therefore, is not just a part of his power set. It is the core of his identity, the visible manifestation of his role as the one who sees what others cannot, and in doing so protects the balance of the world. Possessing the power to see absolute truth would be enough for most deities, but the legend of Yang Jian doesn't stop at perception. If his third eye is the ultimate tool for identifying a problem, then his most celebrated supernatural skill is the toolkit for solving it, the legendary 72 earthly transformations. Far more than a simple parlor trick, this ability to shape-shift into virtually any form is what cements his reputation as heaven's most versatile and unpredictable enforcer. Imagine a warrior who can not only see through a demon's disguise but can then become a fly on the wall to overhear its plans, transform into the demon's own master to command its surrender, or shift into a roaring inferno to burn its fortress to the ground. This is the profound strategic advantage the 72 transformations provide, making him a master of espionage, combat, and tactical ingenuity all in one. So, what exactly can he become? The scope is as boundless as the imagination. The transformations grant him the power to assume the form of any animal, from a tiny, virtually invisible insect to a colossal, world-shaking dragon. He can become other people, perfectly mimicking their appearance, voice, and even mannerisms to infiltrate the most secure gatherings. He can transform into inanimate objects, a tree in a forest, a stone on a path, a lamp in a hallway, allowing him to observe without ever being detected. Perhaps most astonishingly, he can even shift his fundamental substance, becoming an elemental force like water, fire, or a gust of wind. This isn't just an illusion, it is a complete physical and spiritual metamorphosis. When he becomes a bird, he can truly fly. When he becomes fire, he can genuinely burn. This chameleon-like ability means he is never at a disadvantage, always able to adapt his form to perfectly counter any threat or overcome any obstacle he faces. Classic myths are filled with brilliant examples of this power in action, showcasing a mind as agile as his body. In one famous tale, he was tasked with hunting down a cunning, elusive demon that kept hiding within a massive, bustling city. Instead of conducting a loud, destructive search, Erlang Shen simply transformed into a common sparrow. Perched on a rooftop, he watched the comings and goings of the entire population, his third eye simultaneously scanning for the demon's true spiritual form beneath the mortal disguises it used. In another epic confrontation against a river demon causing devastating floods, the creature retreated into the treacherous, swirling rapids where no ordinary warrior could follow. In response, Erlang Shen transformed into a magnificent, powerful sturgeon, navigating the powerful currents with ease and engaging the demon in a fierce underwater battle on its own turf. But the transformations are not merely for stealth or mobility, they are also weapons of raw, overwhelming power. When facing a colossal mountain giant that towered over the landscape, he didn't just meet its size, he surpassed it. Shifting into a form even more gigantic, he wrestled the behemoth on its own terms, his own three-eyed visage staring down from the clouds. This versatility fundamentally defines his approach to justice. He is not a blunt instrument who only knows how to smash. He is a precision tool, a celestial problem solver who applies the exact right form for the task at hand. He can be as subtle as a whisper or as thunderous as an avalanche, and this unpredictability makes him an absolutely terrifying adversary for any force of chaos. Where a lesser god might rely solely on brute force, Erlang Shen combines his unerring sight with limitless form, creating a synergy that makes him virtually unbeatable. This ability to become anything is paradoxically the very thing that solidifies his unique and unwavering identity as the ultimate divine protector. Yet a god of such immense power does not walk his path alone. For every epic hero there is a steadfast companion, and for Erlang Shen, that role is filled by a creature as legendary as the deity himself, the Zairoshun, the howling celestial hound. This is no ordinary dog. It is a magnificent supernatural beast, a being of divine origin whose very presence on the battlefield can turn the tide of a conflict. Imagine a creature with the sleek, powerful build of a hunting hound, but scaled to a size that would make a lion hesitate, with fur that seems to shimmer with a faint, otherworldly light and eyes that burn with an intelligence far beyond the animal kingdom. This hound is not merely a pet or a mount, it is a partner, a fellow warrior, and a living symbol of the very loyalty it so fiercely embodies. The bond between Erlang Shen and his heavenly hound is the stuff of legend, a partnership forged in countless battles against the forces of chaos. In combat, the hound is a whirlwind of ferocity and power. It can match the size and strength of the most colossal demons, its fangs capable of tearing through spiritual armor, and its claws able to rend the very fabric of evil illusions. While Erlang Shen engages a foe directly with his spear and the piercing gaze of his third eye, the heavenly hound provides the perfect flanking maneuver, a swift and brutal force of nature that attacks with blinding speed and overwhelming power. They fight as a single unit, a seamless fusion of divine strategy and primal force. There are tales of the hound single-handedly dispersing entire legions of malevolent spirits with a single, earth-shaking roar that echoes with celestial authority, its howl a sound that spells doom for the wicked and hope for the righteous. Beyond its raw combat prowess, the Zairoshun possesses abilities that perfectly complement its master's own. It is the ultimate tracker, a hunter that can follow a scent not through the physical world but through the spiritual realm. A demon could flee across rivers, hide in the deepest shadows of the underworld, or attempt to mask its aura with powerful magic, but the heavenly hound's senses are attuned to the unique frequency of evil itself. It can pursue a quarry across vast distances and through different planes of existence, making escape an utter impossibility. This makes the pair an unparalleled detective duo, where Erlang Shen's third eye can identify the deception. The heavenly hound can always find the deceiver, no matter where they try to hide. This tracking ability transforms them from reactive warriors into proactive guardians, able to hunt down threats before they can fester and grow. The cultural significance of this relationship runs incredibly deep. In Chinese tradition, the dog has long been a symbol of loyalty, protection, and auspicious fortune. The heavenly hound elevates this symbolism to a divine level. Its unwavering devotion to Erlang Shen is absolute. It is an extension of his will, a manifestation of his commitment to justice that operates with a fierce and focused instinct. This reflects a core Confucian value, the importance of unwavering loyalty within a righteous relationship. The hound is not servile, it is devoted. It chooses to follow Erlang Shen not out of compulsion, but out of a shared purpose and mutual respect. This dynamic showcases a different facet of Erlang Shen's character, his capacity for deep, trusting partnership. He is a figure who commands not just through power, but through the loyalty he inspires, and the heavenly hound is the ultimate proof of that. Their story reminds us that even the most powerful individuals are strengthened by companionship, and that true strength often lies in the bonds we form and the allies who stand by our side through every battle. With a perfect vision of his third eye to identify any threat and the limitless adaptability of his transformations to confront it, Erlang Shen is a truly complete warrior. But when the time comes for direct, decisive action, when deception is peeled away and the true enemy stands revealed, he wields an instrument of pure, focused power, his legendary three-pointed double-edged spear. This is no ordinary polearm. Its very design is a statement of divine purpose. Picture a long, formidable shaft, perfectly balanced for both swift strikes and powerful blocks. At its head, instead of a single point, it splits into three razor-sharp blades, fanned out like a deadly trident. This triple tip is what gives the weapon its name, and its functionality is as brilliant as it is intimidating. In combat, this design makes the spear incredibly difficult to parry. An enemy attempting to block one point would immediately be vulnerable to the other two. It extends his reach, allowing him to control the space around him and engage multiple lesser foes at once. And when he thrusts, it delivers a wound that is far more severe and difficult to heal than one from a simple blade. Yet this spear is far more than just expertly crafted metal and wood. It is a divine artifact, a conduit that channels and amplifies Erlang Shen's own immense celestial energy. When he unleashes his power, the weapon becomes an extension of his will, glowing with an unearthly light. He can project blasts of pure force from its tips or envelop the entire spear in an aura of destructive energy that can cleave through magical barriers and demonic armor alike. In one of the most famous episodes from the classic novel The Investiture of the Gods, he confronts a powerful rival, and the battle showcases the spear's phenomenal capabilities. As they clash, the very air vibrates with the force of their impacts, and Erlang Shen's spear moves with a speed and precision that seems to defy physics, its 3 points creating a whirlwind of celestial power that overwhelms his opponent's defenses. This is not merely a contest of strength, it is a demonstration of a god wielding a tool perfectly suited to his role, a symbol of ordained authority in motion. This gets to the very heart of the spear's significance. It isn't just a tool of combat, it is a profound symbol of his station. In the context of Chinese imperial history, a high-ranking general or marshal would often carry a ceremonial weapon or scepter known as a yu, which represented their authority to command armies and enforce the emperor's law. Erlang Shen's three-pointed spear serves a similar but cosmic function. It is the badge of his office as a celestial marshal, the divine warrior tasked by the Jade Emperor himself with maintaining cosmic order. Each of the 3 points can be seen as representing a different aspect of his duty: to subdue demons, to protect the innocent, and to enforce heavenly decrees. The double-edged nature of the blade speaks to the impartiality of his justice. It is a power that can cut both ways, demanding righteousness from all, whether mortal or divine. He is not a wandering vigilante, he is heaven's appointed enforcer, and the spear is the tangible proof of that mandate. This role as cosmic marshal perfectly frames his most famous and celebrated feat, a monumental struggle that cemented his legend in the hearts and minds of the people, his epic battle against the Monkey King, Sun Wukong. This confrontation is one of the most beloved stories in all of Chinese literature, a clash of titans that is as thrilling as it is symbolic. The context is crucial. Sun Wukong, having attained incredible powers through Taoist cultivation, had rebelled against heaven. He had defeated entire celestial armies, stolen the peaches of immortality, and consumed the pills of longevity, throwing the entire Jade Court into a panic. In their moment of greatest need, with their finest soldiers humiliated, the celestial bureaucracy had no choice but to call upon their ultimate problem solver, the one deity whose combination of power, perception, and tactical genius could possibly match the chaotic brilliance of the Monkey King. The ensuing duel is a masterpiece of mythological storytelling. It is a battle that tests the limits of both combatants, pushing their signature abilities to the absolute extreme. Sun Wukong relies on his cloud somersaults for breathtaking speed, his size-shifting staff that could grow to pillar the heavens, and his own 72 transformations to create endless chaos and confusion. Yet, for every trick the Monkey King pulls, Erlang Shen has a counter. His third eye sees through every disguise Sun Wukong attempts, whether he becomes a sparrow, a fish, or a temple. His own 72 transformations allow him to match the Monkey King shift for shift, turning their fight into a breathtakingly complex game of supernatural chess. Throughout this incredible shape-shifting duel, the one constant is Erlang Shen's three-pointed double-edged spear, a steady and relentless force pressing the attack. While their forms change from beast to element and back again, the spear remains the anchor of his offense, an unwavering instrument of celestial authority against the Monkey King's chaotic rebellion. Ultimately, it is the combination of all his assets, his divine sight, his transformative skill, his loyal heavenly hound, and the relentless power of his spear that allows him to prevail. The battle is so evenly matched that it requires divine intervention to finally tip the scales, but it is Erlang Shen who proves to be the Jade Emperor's champion, the one being capable of subduing the greatest threat heaven had ever faced. This legendary confrontation does more than just showcase his combat prowess. It solidifies his cultural image as the ultimate guardian of the established order. Where Sun Wukong represents the irresistible spirit of rebellion and individual freedom, Erlang Shen embodies the principle of righteous authority and cosmic balance. His victory is not portrayed as the triumph of oppression over freedom, but rather as the necessary restoration of order in the face of world-shattering chaos. He is the disciplined, focused marshal who contains the brilliant, untamed wildfire, and in doing so, he saves the cosmos from collapse. This role as the steadfast bulwark against chaos, the one who stands firm when all others have fallen, is perhaps his most enduring and admired legacy. The legacy of his epic battle with the Monkey King cemented Erlang Shen's status as heaven's ultimate enforcer, yet it's a far more personal and heartbreaking story that reveals the profound emotional core of this formidable deity. Beneath the celestial marshal who upholds the Jade Emperor's decrees still beat the heart of the young boy whose mother was torn from him, a wound that festered for centuries and would eventually compel him to undertake his most audacious quest. This is the deeply human story of a son's rebellion, a tale where the God of absolute justice confronts a law he deems unjust, forcing him to challenge the very authority he is sworn to protect in the name of filial love. For years, even as he served in the celestial army, the image of his mother imprisoned beneath a mountain festered in his soul. The power he cultivated, the battles he won for heaven, all of it felt hollow against the knowledge of her eternal suffering. The cosmic law that justified her punishment, a decree from his own uncle, now felt less like sacred order and more like a mask for tyranny. This internal conflict between his sworn duty and his personal devotion reached a breaking point. He could no longer serve a system that held his own family in cruel captivity, and so the unthinkable happened. The Jade Emperor's greatest defender decided to become his greatest challenger. Gathering his three-pointed spear and with his faithful heavenly hound at his heel, Erlang Shen turned his back on the celestial court and descended to the mortal realm, not on a mission from heaven, but on a personal crusade against it. His destination was the Mountain of Peach Blossoms, a place of deceptive beauty that belied its function as a divine prison. Legends say the mountain was not made of ordinary stone, but was woven from enchanted rock and layered with powerful sealing talismans placed by the Jade Emperor himself. Its slopes were covered in eternally blooming peach trees, their fragrant petals a cruel irony masking the torment within. The journey there was a pilgrimage of defiance, each step a rejection of the celestial mandate. Upon arrival, he was met not by a welcome, but by a battalion of celestial guards, warriors sent by the Jade Emperor to ensure his sister's sentence was carried out in perpetuity. They stood as living embodiments of the law he was about to shatter. What followed was not a battle against a chaotic demon, but a solemn, tragic confrontation against his former comrades. Erlang Shen did not fight with the triumphant fury he displayed against Sun Wukong. This was a fight weighed down by sorrow and necessity. His third eye, typically used to see through demonic illusions, now saw the hesitation in the eyes of the gods who knew his story. His spear, a symbol of celestial authority, was now turned against that very authority. He moved with a determined, relentless grace, disarming and incapacitating the gods without resorting to lethal force whenever possible. He was not there to slaughter the innocent, he was there to reach his mother. The heavenly hound, an extension of his will, worked to disrupt formations and create openings, its loyalty to its master overriding any heavenly allegiance. It was a brutal, poignant clash where the lines between right and wrong, duty and love were utterly blurred. Finally, breaking through the last line of defense, he reached the heart of the mountain. There he found the focal point of the enchantment, a massive stone stele inscribed with the Jade Emperor's sealing decree. With a cry that mixed centuries of anguish with newfound hope, he channeled all his divine power and brought his three-pointed spear down upon the stone. A brilliant light erupted as the celestial seal shattered, the magical bindings dissolving into nothingness. The earth trembled, and the mountain itself seemed to sigh as its prison walls cracked open. From within the darkness emerged his mother, frail and weakened by her long imprisonment, but finally free. The reunion was a moment of pure, unadulterated emotion, a son embracing the mother he had never truly known, a victory won against all odds and at immense personal cost. Yet, in a cruel twist of fate emblematic of the harsh logic of these myths, his victory was tragically short-lived. The centuries of confinement had drained her divine essence beyond recovery. The very moment she was freed from her physical prison, her spiritual form could no longer sustain itself. In his arms she began to fade, her body dissolving into a soft, ethereal light. She had just enough time to look upon her son, to see the mighty god he had become, and to express her love and pride before she returned to the cosmos. His quest ended not in a joyous celebration, but in a devastating, silent loss. He had successfully defied heaven, but he could not defy the natural consequences of its punishment. He won her freedom only to instantly experience her death. This poignant conclusion is what elevates the story from a simple adventure to a profound cultural lesson. His mother's final moments transform his rebellion into the ultimate act of filial piety, a core virtue in Chinese culture known as Xiao. Filial piety demands respect and devotion to one's parents, and Erlang Shen's entire quest, his willingness to risk everything and challenge the highest power in the cosmos, is its most extreme and heroic expression. He fulfilled his duty as a son, even when it meant breaking his duty as a god. Furthermore, his mother's death serves as a powerful reminder of the immutable cost of defying the celestial order. The universe in these myths maintains a delicate balance, and even acts born of pure love can have tragic, unintended consequences. It wasn't a punishment inflicted by the Jade Emperor, but a karmic outcome of the original transgression. This tragedy did not break Erlang Shen, it completed him. It gave him a profound understanding of loss that tempered his divine power with deep empathy, making him a god who had not only seen truth with his third eye, but had felt the deepest sorrow in his own heart. While his quest to free his mother defined his personal character, no story cemented Erlang Shen's public legend more than his legendary confrontation with the most chaotic and beloved figure in all of Chinese mythology, the great sage equal of heaven, Sun Wukong. To understand the sheer scale of this rivalry, you first need to appreciate the sheer force of nature that is the Monkey King. Born from a stone egg nourished by the elements of heaven and earth, Sun Wukong embarked on a path of self-cultivation that granted him staggering powers. He mastered the secrets of immortality, learned 72 transformations to rival Erlang Shen's own, and could travel 108,000 miles in a single somersault on his cloud. He commandeered the magical, size-shifting staff Rui Jingu Bang from the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, a weapon that could grow to pillar the heavens or shrink to the size of a needle. Brimming with arrogance and a fierce desire for recognition, he rebelled against the celestial bureaucracy, wreaking havoc that the Jade Emperor's armies were utterly powerless to stop. The Chaos Sun Wukong unleashed was unprecedented. He defeated entire legions of celestial soldiers, humiliated some of heaven's greatest generals, and defiantly proclaimed himself the great sage, equal of heaven. His most audacious act was crashing the heavenly peach banquet, a sacred event for the highest deities where he consumed the peaches of immortality, drank the imperial wine, and devoured Laozzi's elixirs of longevity. In doing so, he compounded his power and insulted the very foundation of cosmic order. The celestial court was in an uproar, its authority and power shown to be fragile in the face of this simian whirlwind. Every conventional solution had failed. It was in this moment of existential crisis for the Jade Emperor's reign that the court had no choice but to turn to its ultimate contingency. The one deity whose specific set of skills was perfectly designed to counter such a brilliant, unpredictable threat, Erlang Shen, the three-eyed god. The stage was set for a duel that would be remembered for millennia, a clash not just of power but of fundamental cosmic principles. Here was Sun Wukong, the embodiment of unbound rebellion, individual will, and chaotic freedom. And arrayed against him was Erlang Shen, the paragon of divine authority, celestial order, and disciplined enforcement. When Erlang Shen accepted the mandate and descended to the Mountain of Flowers and Fruit with his heavenly hound and his loyal forces, it wasn't merely a military deployment. It was the personification of the established cosmos arriving to confront the anarchic spirit that challenged it. Their initial meeting was charged with mutual recognition. They were, in many ways, mirrors of each other, both masters of transformation, both possessing near limitless power, and both operating with a fierce independence. Yet their motivations were diametrically opposed. What followed was one of the most brilliantly described battles in all of classical literature, a breathtaking exhibition of strategic combat. The two titans first clashed with their primary weapons, Erlang Shen's three-pointed spear meeting Sun Wukong's expanding staff in impacts that shook the heavens. The sheer force of their blows created tremors felt in the mortal world below, but this physical contest was merely the opening act. Realizing he could not gain a decisive advantage through brute force alone, Sun Wukong resorted to his signature cunning, initiating a dazzling and complex shape-shifting duel. He would transform into a sparrow to flee, and Erlang Shen would become a sparrowhawk to dive after him. He would shift into a great fish to swim through a river, and Erlang Shen would instantly become a magnificent cormorant to skim the surface and snatch at him. This was where Erlang Shen's third eye proved to be the critical advantage. While Sun Wukong's transformations were perfect illusions to any other being, to the piercing gaze of the third eye, they were transparent. Erlang Shen could always perceive the monkey's true form hiding within the disguise, allowing him to counter-shift with perfect precision. This relentless pursuit pushed Sun Wukong to his most desperate and ingenious trick. Cornered and knowing Erlang Shen would see through any simple form, the Monkey King transformed into a Taoist temple. His body became the building, his eyes became round windows, and his mouth became the main gate. But his tail presented a problem. There was no place for a tail on a temple. So he cleverly shifted it into a banner pole standing upright behind the temple. He believed his ruse was perfect, waiting for Erlang Shen to pass by so he could strike. But Erlang Shen, guided by his all-seeing eye, took one look at this suspicious temple and immediately saw the truth. He remarked aloud that he would show respect to such a holy place, but first he would smash the windows and then batter down the door. Knowing that the windows were Sun Wukong's eyes and the door was his mouth, the Monkey King was forced to reveal himself and continue the fight, outwitted at his own game. This entire sequence is a masterclass in mythological storytelling, illustrating that true power lies not just in the ability to change form, but in the wisdom to see the truth behind any change. It was a battle where Erlang Shen's disciplined perception and strategic mind were tested against Sun Wukong's chaotic creativity, and in that specific contest, perception won the day. The duel between Erlang Shen and Sun Wukong escalated into a spectacle that tested the very limits of their divine abilities, a breathtaking display where each warrior's greatest strengths were met with an equally formidable counter. Their initial exchange of blows with spear and staff was merely the opening fanfare, a thunderous prelude to the true contest of wits and cosmic power that followed. Recognizing the stalemate in direct combat, Sun Wukong made the first move in their legendary game of metamorphosis, shrinking down and transforming into a small sparrow, flitting away into the sky to lose his pursuer in the vastness of the heavens. But Erlang Shen's third eye, the unwavering beacon of truth, saw the monkey's essence hidden within the tiny bird. In an instant, he shifted into a sparrowhawk, a sleek and deadly predator that dove through the clouds with razor-sharp intent, forcing Sun Wukong to abandon his feathered form. This set the pattern for an astonishing sequence of transformations, a celestial chess match played out with living pieces. The Monkey King, feeling the hawk's breath on his tail, plunged toward a river and became a giant silver-scaled fish, diving deep into the murky currents to hide. Without a moment's hesitation, Erlang Shen became a large water bird, a cormorant with a long, sharp beak, skimming the surface and then plunging beneath the water to spear his elusive target. Driven into a corner, Sun Wukong then changed tactics, morphing into a water snake that slithered into the tall riverside grass, believing its slender form could escape notice. Yet again, Erlang's divine perception pinpointed him, and he transformed into a crimson-crested crane, using its long, powerful beak to strike at the serpent with precise, deadly jabs. Each transformation was a brilliant counter, a demonstration that no matter how clever the Monkey King's disguise, he could not escape the one being in all creation whose sight pierced through all illusion. It was at this moment of intense, shifting conflict that Erlang Shen's loyal companion, the Zyroshan Quan, entered the fray with brutal effectiveness. While the two gods were locked in their high-stakes game of disguise, the heavenly hound had been circling the battlefield, its own supernatural senses attuned to the spiritual turmoil. As Sun Wukong, harried and frustrated by Erlang's relentless counters, made a desperate leap to gain distance, the hound saw its opportunity. With a speed that eclipsed even the gods, it launched itself through the air and sank its celestial fangs into the Monkey King's leg. The surprise and pain of the attack broke Sun Wukong's concentration, causing him to stumble and falter at the most critical moment. This intervention by the heavenly hound was not just a physical blow. It was a tactical masterstroke that disrupted the rhythm of Sun Wukong's evasive strategy, pinning him down just long enough for the net to close. Even with this advantage, subduing the great sage equal of heaven required a coordinated effort from the entire celestial host. While Erlang Shen and his hound pressed the attack, the celestial army, led by the deity Li Jing from high above, had been observing the entire battle. Seeing the Monkey King momentarily off balance, Li Jing acted decisively. He raised his magnificent, pagoda-shaped treasure high, and from its apex shot forth a searing beam of spiritual light that illuminated the entire battlefield, further disorienting the already stricken Simian rebel. Simultaneously, the celestial archer, Nezha, threw his fiery wheels which spun through the air to create a ring of searing flame around the combat zone, cutting off potential escape routes. This multi-pronged assault showcased heaven's collective might, but it was Erlang Shen, the field marshal, who delivered the final, decisive act. As Sun Wukong recoiled from the hound's bite and the dazzling heavenly lights, Erlang Shen summoned a sacred, unbreakable cord gifted to him by the ancient sage Laozi. With a final, mighty effort, he ensnared the Monkey King, using the cord to pierce through his enemy's collarbone and seal away his transformative powers, finally rendering the great sage helpless. This victory was far more than a simple military triumph. It was the ultimate validation of Erlang Shen's unique role in the cosmos. Where entire legions had failed, he succeeded not merely through overwhelming force, but through a combination of unerring perception, strategic adaptability, and the ability to work in concert with his allies. He was Heaven's ultimate problem solver, the one asset the Jade Emperor could deploy when a threat was too chaotic, too powerful, or too clever for conventional methods. His reputation was cemented not just by winning the duel, but by how he won, by matching the Monkey King's chaotic genius with disciplined insight, and by turning the rebels' own greatest strengths against him. This battle forever enshrined him in legend as the divine marshal who could restore order from the brink of chaos, the steadfast guardian whose power was defined as much by his unwavering sight and strategic mind as by the might of his spear. After such a monumental victory, it was clear to the entire celestial court that Yang Jian could no longer be treated as a mere warrior or a potential liability. He had proven his power, his strategic genius, and most importantly, his ultimate value to the cosmic order. The Jade Emperor, in a profound act of political wisdom, chose to formally integrate his formidable nephew into the very system he had once defied. Thus, Yang Jian was bestowed with the grand and weighty title of Marshal of the Illustrious Sage, a name that echoed through the heavens and solidified his place as a pillar of divine authority. This was not just a reward for a job well done. It was a strategic appointment that recognized his unique talents and formally harnessed them for the stability of the cosmos. He was no longer an outsider or a rebel. He was now an integral part of the celestial government, a divine official with a clear mandate and immense responsibility. This new role came with its own command, a personal army known as the 1,200 grassland gods. Do not let the pastoral name fool you. These were not gentle nature spirits. They were a formidable legion of divine enforcers, each a powerful deity in their own right, specializing in tracking, combat, and the apprehension of malevolent forces across all corners of creation. Picture them not as a uniform, rigid military unit, but as a diverse and highly adaptable force. Some might appear as fierce warriors clad in storm cloud armor, while others could take the form of swift winds or shadowy watchers, able to move unseen through the mortal world. Under Erlang Shen's command, they became an extension of his will, a celestial police force that could be deployed anywhere a threat to the cosmic balance emerged. With his third eye to identify the target and his grassland gods to encircle it, no demon or rogue spirit could hope to evade celestial justice for long. So, what exactly does a celestial marshal do? His duties are as vast as the realms he patrols. First and foremost, he is a guardian of the borders between worlds, constantly vigilant for any incursion from the demonic realms or any disturbance that could spill over and harm the mortal plane. He and his forces patrol the spiritual frontiers, ensuring that the delicate barrier separating order from chaos remains intact. When a prayer for justice rises from a mortal who has been wronged by a supernatural entity, a village plagued by a hungry ghost, a family tormented by a vengeful spirit, a region suffering under a drought caused by a negligent dragon, it is often Erlang Shen and his legion who are dispatched to investigate and set things right. He acts as a divine detective, judge, and executioner all in one, his authority absolute and his judgment guided by his truth-seeing eye considered final. This makes him the ultimate divine police chief, the supreme enforcer of the Jade Emperor's will. While other gods might oversee specific domains like thunder, the oceans, or literature, Erlang Shen's jurisdiction is universal. His mandate is to confront any being or situation that poses a direct threat to the established heavenly order, regardless of its origin. He is the one you call when a rebellion brews in the underworld, when an ancient demon awakens from its slumber, or when a powerful immortal decides to flout celestial law. His role requires a unique blend of impartial authority and practical wisdom. He must enforce the laws of heaven, but his own experiences have taught him that those laws are not always perfectly aligned with deeper righteousness. This gives his enforcement a nuanced quality. He upholds the system, but his third eye ensures he always serves the spirit of cosmic justice, not just its letter. He stands as a living bridge between the rigid hierarchy of heaven and the messy, complicated reality of the cosmos, using his unparalleled power and perception to maintain a balance that benefits all realms. Beyond the celestial battlefields and conflicts with heavenly rebels, the true measure of a deity's greatness often lies in their compassion for ordinary people. While Erlang Shen's legend is filled with epic duels, one of his most cherished stories showcases his role as a direct benefactor to humanity, a myth centered around the ancient region of Jiangdu and a terrifying water crisis that threatened to erase it from the map. This tale moves him from the grand stage of cosmic politics to the mud-filled, desperate world of mortal survival, revealing a god who wields his power not for glory, but for the simple, profound act of saving lives. The people of Jiangdu lived in constant fear, their lives dictated by the violent whims of a mighty river. Each year, with the spring thaw and the summer rains, the waters would swell far beyond their banks, transforming fertile plains into a churning, murky sea that swallowed villages and drowned crops. The people prayed to the river god, they made offerings, they built what embankments they could, but their efforts were like trying to hold back the ocean with a handful of sand. Whispers began to circulate among the elders, tales that this was no ordinary flooding. They spoke of a monstrous water dragon that had made its lair deep within the river's source in the mountains. This was no benevolent dragon of rain and rivers. It was a creature of pure chaos and gluttony, a malevolent spirit that delighted in the destruction it caused. It would use its serpentine body to block narrow gorges, creating massive temporary dams. It would then revel in the growing pressure of the pent-up water before suddenly unleashing it all in a catastrophic, devastating wave that swept down into the valleys, destroying everything in its path. The people of Jiangdu were not just suffering from a natural disaster, they were the playthings of a cruel and powerful monster. When the pleas of the people finally reached the heavens, the celestial court took notice. Here was a problem that required more than just brute force. It demanded intelligence, strategic thinking, and a deep understanding of the natural world. Erlang Shen, with his unique blend of divine power and the practical perspective gained from his mortal upbringing, was the ideal candidate for the task. He did not descend with a legion of soldiers ready for a dramatic frontal assault. Instead, he arrived alone, his third eye already scanning the landscape, not for illusions, but for the fundamental truths of geography and hydrology. He saw the dragon's spiritual signature coiled around the mountain pass, and more importantly, he saw the solution. A direct attack on the beast in its aquatic domain would be messy and risk even greater flooding. His goal was not merely to defeat the dragon, but to permanently solve the problem of the floods, to end the cycle of terror for the people of Jiangdu. His plan was a masterpiece of divine engineering. He first needed to deal with the immediate threat, the colossal volume of water the dragon was currently holding back. Using his transformative powers, he shifted into a giant, powerful sturgeon, much as he had in other battles, and swam upstream to confront the creature. The water dragon, enraged by this intrusion, surged forward to attack, but Erlang Shen was not there to fight to the death in the water. His maneuver was a feint, a distraction to draw the dragon away from its strategic position blocking the gorge. As the beast charged, Erlang Shen swiftly transformed again, this time into a soaring eagle, luring the dragon out of the water and into the sky above the mountains. With the dragon preoccupied, the immediate danger of a sudden, deliberate dam break was averted. Now came the true, enduring work. With the dragon engaged in an aerial duel, Erlang Shen's true objective came into focus. He needed to create a permanent channel for the river, a new path that would allow the water to flow safely and predictably to the plains below, rendering the dragon's dam-building tactics useless. Landing on a towering peak, he wielded his three-pointed double-edged spear not as a weapon against flesh, but as a divine tool against the earth itself. Channeling his immense celestial energy into the spear, he thrust it into the heart of the mountain range. With a series of colossal, precisely placed strikes, he began to cleave through solid rock, carving a deep, wide canal through the mountainside. The sound was like 1,000 thunderclaps rolling across the land as granite and limestone split apart under the force of his will. This was not wild destruction, it was controlled, purposeful creation. He was sculpting the landscape itself, redirecting the very flow of nature to serve and protect the people who lived within it. Having carved the new channel, his attention returned to the water dragon. The creature, realizing its power had been fundamentally broken, fled in a rage, its domain now tamed and controlled. Erlang Shen gave chase, and with the help of his ever-faithful heavenly hound, he cornered the beast. Yet, in a display of his nuanced understanding of cosmic balance, he did not destroy it. Instead, he subdued the dragon and placed it under a powerful binding oath. He transformed it from a force of random destruction into a regulated guardian of the new waterway, its power now harnessed to ensure the river flowed smoothly and to provide timely, gentle rains for the farmlands. The chaos was not eliminated, it was civilized, integrated into a new system of order and benefit. The result for the people of Jiangdu was nothing short of miraculous. The violent, unpredictable floods were a horror of the past. The new river channel, masterfully engineered by a god's hand, provided a reliable source of water for irrigation, turning the once flood-ravaged plains into some of the most fertile and prosperous land in the region. The story of the divine marshal who split a mountain to save them became the foundational legend of the area, passed down through countless generations. Temples were erected in his honor, not just as places of worship, but as enduring monuments to gratitude. This myth cemented Erlang Shen's identity as a god who listens, who acts, and who uses his unparalleled might for the direct, tangible betterment of human lives. It showcases the complete hero, a being who is as much a benefactor and protector as he is a warrior, whose legacy is written not only in the annals of heavenly conflict but in the sustained peace and prosperity of the people he vowed to guard. From these legendary feats of divine engineering and cosmic enforcement, the veneration of Erlang Shen naturally flowed from the pages of myth into the very heart of Chinese folk religion, creating a vibrant and enduring cult of worship that spans centuries. His unique position as a powerful, approachable deity who understood both celestial law and human suffering made him an immensely popular figure among common people, soldiers, and even merchants. This devotion found its physical home in temples constructed in his honor, with one of the most significant and historically important being the Erlang Temple in Guan County, Sichuan. Nestled in a region often associated with water control and mountainous terrain, the location of this temple is no coincidence. It stands as a testament to his legendary role as a tamer of floods and a subduer of the chaotic forces of nature. Throughout history, pilgrims would journey to this sacred site, not just to pay respects to a distant god, but to seek the aid of a divine marshal they believed would actually listen and intervene in their lives. So, what do people pray for when they stand before an altar dedicated to Erlang Shen? The petitions are as direct and powerful as the god himself. First and foremost, worshippers seek his divine protection. In a world historically filled with uncertainties from bandits and oppressive officials to natural disasters and malevolent spirits, he was seen as a celestial guardian who could shield a family, a village, or an entire region from harm. Soldiers and martial artists would pray to him for courage and victory in battle, viewing him as the ultimate embodiment of strategic prowess and unwavering resolve. But his role extends beyond physical safety. People also beseech him for justice. for those who felt wronged by a system they could not challenge, for those who had no earthly recourse against corruption or powerful adversaries. Erlang Shen represented a higher court of appeal. His third eye, which sees all truth, meant that a petitioner's honest plea would never be ignored or mistaken for a lie. He is the divine arbiter who rights worldly wrongs, making him a champion of the oppressed and the hopeless. Stepping into one of these temples is to walk into a space filled with symbolic power, where the iconography tells the entire story of the god being honored. Central to any shrine is the statue of Erlang Shen himself, always depicted as a handsome, youthful warrior with a commanding and authoritative presence. His most distinctive feature, the vertical third eye in the middle of his forehead, is always prominently displayed, wide open and often inlaid with crystal or polished stone to catch the light, representing his perpetual state of all-seeing vigilance. In his hands or standing close by, you will find his legendary three-pointed double-edged spear, a symbol of his authority and his readiness to act against any threat to cosmic or earthly order. The weapon is not merely an accessory, it is a declaration of his active role as an enforcer, and almost always at his feet, captured in wood, stone, or painted clay, is his loyal companion, the Xiaoroshenquan, the howling celestial hound. The hound is rarely depicted in a passive, sleeping pose. Instead, it is shown alert, muscles tensed, often with its mouth open in a silent snarl or a mighty howl, poised to launch itself at its master's command. This dynamic representation reinforces its role as an active participant in divine justice, a tracker that can hunt down evil and a protector that guards the temple grounds themselves. Together, this triad of iconography, the god, his spear, and his hound forms a complete narrative of power, perception, and relentless pursuit of righteousness. The very arrangement is designed to inspire confidence in the worshipper. Here is a deity who not only sees your problem but possesses the tools and the will to directly confront it. This enduring worship highlights a fascinating aspect of his divinity, the blend of official canon and grassroots adoration. While his stories are enshrined in classical texts like the Investiture of the Gods, his cult flourished powerfully within local folk religion, often operating outside the strict confines of the state-sanctioned celestial bureaucracy. Communities would hold vibrant festivals in his honor, featuring operas that reenacted his battles against Sun Wukong or the water dragon of Jiangdu. These performances were not mere entertainment, they were acts of communal devotion and reminders of the protective power watching over them. In modern times, while the scale of worship may have changed, his temples remain active places of prayer. You might find a business owner asking for success over a rival, a student praying for justice after being treated unfairly, or a family seeking protection for a son serving in the military. The specific petitions evolve with the times, but the core reasons for seeking his favor, the desire for protection, the cry for justice, and the hope for victorious outcomes in life's struggles remain as relevant today as they were centuries ago, ensuring that the legacy of the three-eyed god continues to resonate in the hearts of the people. This deep integration of Erlang Shen into the spiritual life of the people naturally found its most vibrant and enduring expressions not just in quiet temples, but in the spectacular, colorful world of Chinese art and performance. For centuries, artists and performers have sought to capture his divine essence, translating the epic tales of the three-eyed god into visual and theatrical masterpieces that have thrilled and inspired audiences generation after generation. These depictions are far more than simple illustrations. They are a language of symbolism and skill that communicates the core of his identity, his power, his authority, and his unwavering commitment to justice, in a way that is instantly recognizable and deeply resonant. When you step into a temple dedicated to Erlang Shen, you are greeted by a very specific and powerful visual archetype, one that has been refined over hundreds of years. The statues and murals that house his spirit are not works of wild imagination. They follow a strict iconographic tradition that ensures every detail conveys a specific aspect of his divinity. He is almost always portrayed as a strikingly handsome, noble-faced young man, an appearance that symbolizes his status as a purified celestial being. His expression is typically one of calm authority, not the furious glare of a war god, reflecting the disciplined and focused nature of his power. He is a martial deity, so he is often depicted in ornate golden armor, signifying his role as a commander in the celestial army. Yet he might also be shown in the elegant robes of a court official, highlighting his dual identity as both a warrior and a high-ranking member of the heavenly bureaucracy. This careful balance in his portrayal underscores his unique position. He is the embodiment of righteous force that is always governed by law and order. The most crucial element, of course, is his third eye, and its representation in art is a study in sacred symbolism. It is always wide open, vertically situated in the center of his forehead, often inlaid with a piece of polished crystal, jade, or even a spot of gold leaf. This isn't just an artistic choice, it is a theological statement. The open eye signifies his perpetual state of vigilance. He is never sleeping, never off duty. He is eternally watching, his gaze piercing through the three realms of heaven, earth, and the underworld, ensuring that no deception or injustice can escape his notice. In his hands, or standing proudly beside him, rests his three-pointed double-edged spear, a constant reminder of his readiness to act, and completing this iconic tableau is the Zyroshan Quan, his heavenly hound, forever poised at his feet. The hound is rarely depicted resting. It is shown in a state of alert tension, muscles coiled, often with its mouth open in a silent snarl or a mighty howl, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. This entire composition, the serene god, the all-seeing eye, the formidable spear, and the loyal, ferocious hound, works in harmony to create a single, unforgettable image of divine protection and unwavering justice. But to see Erlang Shen truly come to life, to feel the electricity of his presence, one must witness his portrayal on the operatic stage. Chinese opera, with its dazzling fusion of music, song, acrobatics, and elaborate costuming, is the perfect medium to channel the dynamic energy of this celestial marshal. On stage, Erlang Shen is never played by just any actor. He is exclusively the domain of the wusheng, the martial male role. This is one of the most physically demanding specializations in all of Chinese opera, requiring the performer to be a master of swordsmanship, stylized combat, and breathtaking acrobatics. An actor playing Erlang Shen must be able to convey immense power and divine grace through his every movement, from the way he brandishes his prop spear in intricate, symbolic patterns to the way he executes flawless backflips and high-flying leaps during battle sequences, all while singing in a powerful, projecting voice. The performance is an athletic and artistic tour de force, a testament to the years of grueling training required to do justice to such a powerful figure. The process of transforming an actor into the god is a ritual in itself, centered on the application of the distinctive facial makeup. Unlike the elaborate, painted masks of other operatic roles, Erlang Shen's face is typically a solid, serene color, often a reddish hue that signifies loyalty and righteousness. The true focal point, the climax of the makeup application, is the third eye. Using a fine brush and brilliant gold paint, the artist carefully paints the vertical eye directly onto the actor's forehead. This single, shimmering symbol carries the weight of the entire character. When the actor steps onto the stage under the bright lights, that golden eye catches and reflects the glow, becoming a beacon that draws the audience's gaze and commands their attention. It is a stunning visual effect that transcends mere makeup. It is the moment of apotheosis where the human performer becomes the vessel for the divine. The audience understands instantly that they are not watching a man, but a god whose vision perceives truths beyond their own. These operatic performances are where the myths we've explored are reenacted with spectacular vigor. The most popular story by far is his epic duel with Sun Wukong. On stage, this battle becomes a whirlwind of coordinated chaos. The actor playing Erlang Shen, with his golden eye gleaming, faces off against the actor playing the Monkey King, who is a blur of simian movement and mischievous energy. Their fight is a choreographed masterpiece of the shape-shifting duel. They leap and tumble across the stage, using swift costume changes and symbolic gestures to represent their rapid transformations, a flick of a sleeve for a bird, a crouching step for a fish. The audience, familiar with the story, cheers at each clever counter, appreciating the sheer athleticism and artistry required to bring this celestial conflict to life. Through opera, the legend of Erlang Shen is not just told, it is experienced. It becomes a shared cultural memory, a vibrant and living tradition that ensures the three-eyed god continues to stride powerfully through the imagination of the people, his golden eye forever watching over the stage and the world it represents. This seamless transition of Erlang Shen from temple statues and operatic stages to the glowing screens of film and television is a testament to his enduring power as a cultural icon. In the 20th and 21st centuries, his legend has found a vibrant new life, reaching audiences on a scale the ancient storytellers could never have imagined. The primary engines for this modern revival have been the lavish television and film adaptations of the two great Chinese epic novels that feature him so prominently, The Investiture of the Gods and Journey to the West. Each new production reinterprets the three-eyed god for a contemporary generation, introducing his unique blend of celestial authority and personal conflict to millions of new viewers, ensuring the ancient myths remain a living, breathing part of the cultural conversation. When a new production of The Investiture of the Gods, or Fengshen Yanyi, is announced, one of the most anticipated casting decisions is always for the role of Yang Jian. This epic tells the story of the fall of the Shang dynasty and the rise of the Zhou, a celestial war where gods and mortals fight side by side, and it is within this narrative that we witness Yang Jian's own origin story and ascent to divinity. The series provides a rich canvas to explore his complex character arc, from a determined young man seeking to free his mother to a formidable warrior choosing his side in a cosmic conflict. Actors who have taken on this role, such as Yang Jian in the 2009 version or Han Dong in the 2016 series, have brought different shades to the character. Some portrayals emphasize his youthful righteousness and the simmering anger over his mother's imprisonment, while others focus on his strategic brilliance and growing sense of duty as he masters his powers and joins the righteous cause. These adaptations spend significant time visualizing his most spectacular abilities. The awakening of his third eye is often a pivotal, special effects-laden moment, and his 72 transformations are brought to life with modern computer-generated imagery, creating sequences that are both thrilling and deeply symbolic of his flexible, enlightened nature. Yet, for sheer widespread popularity, no portrayal can compete with his appearances in the countless adaptations of Journey to the West. While Erlang Shen is not the central character, his extended cameo during the epic battle with Sun Wukong is often a standout highlight of any series or film. This is where the god gets to be the ultimate celestial showcase, the one being whose skills directly counter the Monkey King's chaotic genius. The dynamic between these two titans is cataclysmic and captivating, a clash of styles that filmmakers love to dramatize. In the classic 1986 television series, a benchmark for an entire generation, the actor portrayed Erlang Shen with a cool, almost arrogant confidence, his calm demeanor and open third eye presenting a stark contrast to Sun Wukong's frenetic energy. Their shape-shifting duel was a masterpiece of practical effects for its time, using clever camera tricks and quick-cut editing to create the illusion of a rapid-fire metamorphosis battle. In contrast, more recent big-budget film adaptations, such as the Journey to the West franchise produced by Stephen Chow, have utilized state-of-the-art computer graphics to realize this duel in breathtaking detail. We see Erlang Shen transform into a celestial beast in seamless, photorealistic detail, his third eye firing beams of pure energy, making the confrontation feel more epic and world-shaking than ever before. Specific actors have left an indelible mark on the modern perception of the deity. The portrayal by actor Feng Xiaofeng in the 2019 film The Immortal Demon Slayer is a prime example of a modern reinterpretation that resonated powerfully with audiences. Feng brought a sleek, charismatic, and somewhat aloof quality to the role, presenting Erlang Shen less as a traditional, armored general and more as a sharp, sophisticated celestial detective. This version highlighted the god's intelligence and perceptive nature, his third eye serving as the tool of a divine investigator who pieces together cosmic conspiracies. Such portrayals expand the character beyond the classic warrior archetype, suggesting that his true power lies as much in his intellect and his ability to see the bigger picture as it does in his martial prowess. These performances shape how a new generation understands the god, blending the ancient attributes with contemporary ideals of a hero who is both powerful and psychologically complex. Ultimately, these constant reappearances in film and television do more than just entertain. They actively participate in the myth-making process itself. Each new adaptation is not a mere repetition but a reinterpretation, a conversation between the present and the past. The directors, screenwriters, and actors infuse the ancient tales with modern sensibilities, exploring themes of duty, rebellion, and justice in ways that speak directly to today's audience. A contemporary drama might choose to emphasize the tension between Erlang Shen and the Jade Emperor, framing it as a critique of blind obedience to authority. A big-budget action film might focus on the spectacular visual potential of his powers, turning him into a superhero of the Chinese mythological pantheon. This ongoing cycle of retelling keeps the character from becoming a static relic in a book. It allows the legend of Erlang Shen to evolve, to remain relevant and exciting, ensuring that the three-eyed god continues to watch over the cultural landscape, his story forever being written and rewritten in the light of the silver screen. This remarkable feature of Erlang Shen, while uniquely his own, is part of a grand and recurring theme found in spiritual traditions across the globe. The idea of a third eye, an organ of inner sight that transcends the physical, appears in various forms, suggesting a deep, almost universal human yearning to perceive a reality beyond the one our ordinary senses can grasp. When we place Erlang's celestial vision alongside, for instance, the devastating third eye of the Hindu god Shiva, we begin to see a fascinating pattern of shared symbolism, even as the cultural expressions differ dramatically. In Hinduism, Lord Shiva, the transformer within the Holy Trinity, possesses a vertical third eye on his forehead that remains closed most of the time. When it opens, however, its gaze is one of ultimate dissolution and cosmic fire, capable of reducing anything, gods, demons, or entire worlds, to ashes. This might seem a world away from Erlang Shen's more judicial, truth-seeking eye, but the core principle is profoundly similar. Both eyes represent the piercing of Maya or illusion. Shiva's eye burns away the veil of ignorance and attachment that binds beings to the cycle of suffering, revealing the ultimate, formless reality beneath. Erlang's eye performs a parallel function on a more narrative level, burning away the illusions of demons and the deceptions that obscure cosmic justice. In both cases, the third eye is the instrument that destroys falsehood to reveal a higher, often starker, truth. Venturing further east into the traditions of Buddhism, we encounter the concept of the urna, a curl of hair or a luminous dot between the eyebrows of a Buddha, symbolizing the same spiritual vision. Here, the emphasis shifts from destruction to enlightened perception. This eye of wisdom represents the direct, intuitive understanding of the true nature of existence, the perception of emptiness, interdependence, and the cessation of suffering. It is the faculty that allows a Buddha to see the karma of all beings and to comprehend the intricate web of cause and effect that shapes the universe. This aligns beautifully with Erlang Shen's role. His eye doesn't just see a demon's disguise, it perceives the being's fundamental spiritual nature and its place within the cosmic order. The third eye, in this context, becomes the very source of enlightened judgment, an ability to see the world not as a collection of separate things, but as an interconnected whole, allowing for a justice that is both impartial and deeply compassionate. This shared symbolism across Hindu and Buddhist thought highlights a common understanding that the ultimate battle is often against ignorance itself, and the ultimate victory is achieved through clear-seeing wisdom. This theme of inner vision is not confined to the East. Western esoteric and mystical traditions have long spoken of the mind's eye, or the eye of the soul. While not always depicted as a literal, physical eye on the forehead, the concept is functionally identical. In Platonic philosophy, the soul was believed to possess an organ for perceiving the realm of ideal forms, the perfect, eternal concepts of which our worldly objects are merely flawed shadows. To see with this inner eye was to achieve philosophical enlightenment. Later, in mystic Christian traditions, figures like Hildegard of Bingen described visions of divine light perceived through an interior faculty, a spiritual sight that revealed God's truth. The Rosicrucians and other Hermetic schools explicitly mapped this concept onto the human body, identifying an ajna chakra, or an inner eye located in the center of the brow, the activation of which was key to spiritual awakening and esoteric knowledge. This Western mind's eye strives for the same goal as Erlang Shen's third eye, to move beyond the deceptive testimony of the physical senses and perceive the underlying spiritual architecture of the cosmos. It is the tool for discerning divine will, understanding symbolic truths, and achieving a state of gnosis, or direct spiritual knowledge. What emerges from this cross-cultural tapestry is a powerful, unified symbol. The third eye, whether it belongs to a Chinese martial, a Hindu ascetic, or a Western mystic, universally represents a gateway to higher consciousness. Our two physical eyes look outward, processing the material world of form, duality, and separation. They see difference and division. The third eye, by contrast, turns inward. It is the organ of unity, of synthesis, of perceiving the singular consciousness or divine energy that animates all of creation. It grants access to what is often called the astral light, or the Akashic records, a non-physical plane of existence where thoughts, memories, and the blueprint of reality itself are said to reside. For Erlang Shen, this means seeing the true spiritual ledger of a being, its past deeds and fundamental nature. For a yogi, it might mean perceiving the flow of prana, or life force, through the body. For a seer, it might mean visions of future events. The common thread is the transcendence of linear time and three-dimensional space, accessing a state of awareness where all is interconnected, and the veil between the seen and unseen worlds grows thin. This profound symbolism ultimately brings us back to Erlang Shen, grounding his divine power in a deeply human aspiration. He is not merely a fantastical character, he is a mythological embodiment of a spiritual ideal cherished across civilizations. His third eye makes him the perfect celestial marshal because he operates from a place of unimpeachable truth. He cannot be swayed by beautiful lies or terrifying illusions because his perception is rooted in a reality that is absolute. This resonates with us because it reflects our own deepest desire to see clearly, to see through the social masks people wear, to discern the truth in a world saturated with misinformation, and to perceive the deeper meaning and purpose behind the chaotic events of our lives. Erlang Shen's legend tells us that the highest form of power is not strength or speed, but profound clarity. It is the power to know what is real, to act from that knowledge, and in doing so, to become an unwavering force for order in a universe that constantly tempts us with deception. His story, therefore, transcends its Chinese origins to speak a universal language, reminding us that the quest for truth is the most heroic journey of all. This vibrant, living tradition of veneration finds one of its most spectacular expressions in the Daoshan Gong Festival, an annual celebration held in places like Guan County, Sichuan, that transforms the local community into a stage for divine tribute. Unlike a solemn, quiet ceremony held within temple walls, this festival is a boisterous, colorful, and deeply communal affair that spills out into the streets, bringing the legend of Erlang Shen directly into the lives of the people. The name itself, Daoshan Gong, which can be translated as Lord who fought the mountain, is a direct and powerful reference to his most celebrated local feat, the epic battle where he split a mountain to tame the flooding river and save the people of Zhongdu. This isn't a festival dedicated to a distant, abstract deity. It is a heartfelt thanksgiving celebration for a divine marshal who is seen as a tangible, historical benefactor of the region. The entire event is a profound expression of collective memory, a way for the community to reenact and reaffirm the story that defines their relationship with the land and the god who protects it. The festivities typically commence within the sacred space of the local Erlang temple, but they quickly burst forth into the public sphere with a magnificent and noisy procession that forms the visual and auditory heart of the celebration. Imagine the scene. The air is thick with the scent of incense and the electrifying sounds of firecrackers popping and gongs crashing. At the head of the parade, a sacred palanquin carries the temple statue of Erlang Shen himself, allowing the god to tour his domain and bestow his blessings upon the entire community. The statue, adorned with fresh flowers and brilliant silks, is a moving focal point of devotion, but the true spectacle surrounds it. Marching alongside the palanquin are individuals chosen to embody the central characters of the myth. A performer made up with the iconic golden third eye on his forehead and often wearing ornate armor or ceremonial robes strides with the dignified authority of the god. He is accompanied by others portraying his loyal companions, the most crucial being someone in an elaborate, often fearsome costume representing the Zhairoshan Quan, the heavenly hound. This is not a cute, domesticated dog. The costume is designed to emphasize the creature's supernatural power with exaggerated features, a formidable posture, and sometimes even mechanisms to create a roaring or howling sound, bringing the divine protector to life in a thrilling, tangible way. Following this central group, the parade often expands to include other figures from his stories, creating a moving pageant of celestial history. You might see a performer embodying the mischievous son Wukong, engaging in a playful, choreographed struggle with the Erlang Shen impersonator, much to the delight of the crowd. There could also be representations of the 1,200 grassland gods, his divine enforcers, their costumes suggesting a powerful, unified army on the march. The procession weaves its way through the main thoroughfares of the town or village, and for the residents this is far more than a simple performance. As the palanquin passes, people line the streets, bowing their heads in respect, offering prayers, and raising their own personal petitions. They are not just watching a show, they are actively participating in a ritual of invitation, asking the god to see their homes, their businesses, and their families, and to extend his powerful protection over them for the year to come. The entire town becomes a consecrated space, with the boundary between the divine and the human momentarily dissolved by the power of collective faith and celebration. While the parade provides the public spectacle, the spiritual and artistic core of the Daoshan Gong Festival often unfolds on the temporary stages set up in temple courtyards or public squares, where professional opera troupes perform the epic stories of Erlang Shen. These are not casual renditions, they are highly skilled presentations that require years of training, and for the audience they are a profound form of religious devotion as much as they are entertainment. The most anticipated performance is invariably the thrilling duel with the Monkey King. On this festival stage, the myth becomes immediate and visceral. The actor playing Erlang Shen must embody both divine grace and martial prowess, his every movement from the precise handling of his prop spear to the graceful, acrobatic flips during combat communicating his celestial power. The application of his golden third eye makeup is a sacred act in itself, and when he stands under the stage lights, that gleaming symbol becomes a beacon holding the audience spellbound. The climactic shape-shifting duel is a masterpiece of theatrical illusion. Through a combination of swift costume changes, symbolic gestures, and expertly choreographed movement, the two actors create the breathtaking illusion of rapid metamorphosis. A flick of a sleeve and a spinning turn from the Monkey King suggests his transformation into a sparrow. A corresponding shift in stance and a sweeping arm movement from Erlang Shen signals his instantaneous counter as a sparrowhawk. The crowd, many of whom know the story by heart, reacts with cheers and applause at each clever maneuver, appreciating not only the story but the immense artistic skill required to tell it. These performances serve a crucial purpose beyond artistry. They are a living scripture, a dynamic way to pass the sacred stories from one generation to the next. They reinforce the core values that Erlang Shen represents, that truth will always see through deception, that disciplined order can triumph over chaotic rebellion, and that a righteous heart backed by unwavering resolve can overcome any obstacle. For the community, watching the opera is an act of moral and spiritual reinforcement, a collective remembering of the principles that bind them together. The festival's significance extends far beyond a single day of celebration. It is a vital thread in the social and spiritual fabric of the community, strengthening bonds both human and divine. In a practical sense, organizing the Daoshan Gong Festival requires the cooperation of virtually everyone. Local families contribute funds, volunteers spend weeks preparing costumes and building stages, and community leaders coordinate the complex logistics of the parade and rituals. This collective effort fosters a powerful sense of shared identity and common purpose. The festival becomes a reaffirmation of the community itself, a time when old disputes are set aside and everyone works together to honor their shared protector. It is a powerful display of social cohesion, all centered around the veneration of the three-eyed god. On a spiritual level, the rituals performed during the festival are deeply pragmatic. The primary goal is to invoke Erlang Shen's continued protection for the community, its crops, and its people. Specific rituals might involve village elders presenting offerings of whole pigs, fish, and fruit before his statue, prayers for a year free from natural disasters like the floods he once tamed, and for safety from bandits or disease. In essence, the festival is an annual renewal of a sacred contract. The community demonstrates its faith, gratitude, and devotion through celebration, and in return, they believe Erlang Shen will extend his mantle of celestial authority over them. The Daoshan Gong Festival, therefore, is the ultimate proof that Erlang Shen is not a relic of a forgotten past. He is a living, active presence in the lives of his devotees. His power is not confined to ancient texts or television screens. It is felt in the rhythm of the drums, seen in the golden eye of the opera performer, and celebrated in the joyous, noisy, and deeply heartfelt gatherings of people who continue to look to the divine marshal for justice, protection, and hope. At the heart of Erlang Shen's enduring appeal is the profound moral complexity that defines his character, a rich tapestry woven with threads of unwavering duty and deep personal conviction that sometimes pull in opposite directions. He is not a simple, one-dimensional symbol of celestial authority. He is a living, breathing paradox within the mythos, a god whose greatest strengths are often born from his most human conflicts. We see a deity sworn to uphold the laws of the Jade Emperor's court, the very embodiment of cosmic order, who himself once raised his spear against that same authority in the name of love. This internal tension between his role as a divine marshal and his identity as a devoted son creates a compelling ethical landscape, one that explores whether ultimate righteousness means obeying the law or following the deeper call of one's heart. His stories consistently challenge the notion of blind allegiance, suggesting that true justice requires wisdom and the courage to question, even when the system one serves is considered divinely ordained. This conflict is perfectly crystallized in the two most defining arcs of his life: his rebellion to free his mother and his solemn duty to subdue Sun Wukong. In the first, he is the archetypal filial son, embodying the Confucian virtue of zairo, or filial piety, to its most extreme and heroic degree. His mother's imprisonment was a legal punishment from the highest power in the cosmos, yet he judged it to be unjust, an act of tyranny disguised as cosmic law. His decision to storm the mountain of peach blossoms was therefore not an act of mere rebellion. It was an act of moral defiance. He placed the sacred bond between parent and child above the decrees of the celestial bureaucracy, arguing through his actions that some laws, when they violate fundamental human, or in this case divine, decency, deserve to be broken. This paints him not as a chaotic rebel, but as a principled dissenter, a figure who understands that the spirit of justice can sometimes demand a transgression against its written word. His tragic victory, freeing his mother only to lose her, adds a layer of profound sacrifice to his moral stance, teaching that doing the right thing can come at an immense personal cost, and that noble intentions do not always guarantee a happy ending. Yet, in stark contrast, we see the same God as the foremost enforcer of that very same celestial order when he confronts Sun Wukong. Here, he is the stalwart defender of the system, the one who must quell the chaotic, individualistic rebellion of the Monkey King to prevent the collapse of the cosmos into anarchy. This is not a contradiction, but rather the other side of the same moral coin. Erlang Shen does not uphold the law simply because it is the law. He upholds it because he believes in the necessity of a stable, functioning cosmic order. The wild, self-serving chaos unleashed by Sun Wukong threatened not just the Jade Emperor's throne, but the very balance that allows mortal and immortal realms to coexist. In this context, his unwavering enforcement is an act of profound responsibility. It demonstrates his understanding that personal freedom, when utterly unbound, can become a destructive force that harms the collective. His battle is a defense of a system that, while imperfect, provides the framework for peace and prosperity across all realms. This dual role, the rebel and the enforcer, reveals a nuanced ethical philosophy, that the correct moral path is not found in rigidly choosing one principle over another, but in wisely discerning when a system requires reform from within and when it must be defended from threats without. The very nature of his power reinforces this intricate moral compass. His third eye, the ultimate weapon against deception, is the physical manifestation of his commitment to objective truth. It forces him to operate from a place of absolute clarity, making it impossible for him to be swayed by appealing lies or to ignore uncomfortable realities. This power carries a heavy burden, as it alienates him from the political maneuverings and polite fictions that often characterize any bureaucracy, celestial or otherwise. He cannot turn a blind eye to corruption or injustice because his eye is never blind. This makes him the ultimate incorruptible official, but it also isolates him, placing him in a position where he must often stand alone against powerful forces, armed only with the certainty of what he sees. His 72 transformations further this theme of moral adaptability. They symbolize that righteousness is not a single, rigid approach, but a flexible strategy that must be tailored to the specific challenge at hand. Sometimes justice requires the subtlety of a spy, the patience of a hunter, or the overwhelming force of a giant. His multifaceted abilities reflect a multifaceted understanding of what it means to be good, suggesting that virtue is not about following a script, but about creatively and effectively pursuing what is right. Ultimately, the moral lessons of Erlang Shen's stories resonate because they are deeply human, reflecting struggles we all face in our own lives, albeit on a less cosmic scale. He embodies the eternal conflict between our duties to our family and our duties to our society or career. He grapples with the question of when to obey authority and when to follow our conscience. His narrative assures us that these internal conflicts are not signs of weakness, but are in fact the crucibles in which character is forged. He is a God who is powerful precisely because he is not perfect. His flaws, his grief, and his righteous anger make him relatable. His legacy teaches that true heroism isn't about being flawless, but about striving to do what is right even when the choices are impossibly difficult, when duty and desire are locked in combat, and when the path forward is shrouded in moral ambiguity. He is a testament to the idea that the most compelling and admirable figures are those who, God or mortal, navigate the complex terrain of the heart with courage, principle, and an unwavering commitment to their own truth. Commanding the celestial armies of heaven requires more than just individual might. It demands a loyal and highly organized force capable of projecting power across the entire cosmos. This is the crucial role filled by the 1,200 grassland gods, the formidable legion that operates under Erlang Shen's direct authority. The name itself evokes a sense of vast, open power. The grassland, suggesting a domain that is both natural and boundless, while the gods confirms their divine status. They are not mere foot soldiers or a faceless horde. Think of them instead as an elite celestial special operations unit, each member a deity in their own right, specializing in a particular aspect of maintaining cosmic order. Their existence transforms Erlang Shen from a peerless lone champion into a marshal, a strategic commander who can be everywhere at once, enforcing the Jade Emperor's will through a network of divine agents. So, who exactly are these 1,200 grassland gods? Their origins are as diverse as their duties, drawing from several rich veins of Chinese spiritual belief. Many are deified nature spirits, powerful entities that once presided over specific mountains, forests, rivers, or valleys. By swearing allegiance to Erlang Shen, these local gods were integrated into a centralized celestial command structure, their knowledge of the mortal world becoming an invaluable asset for heavenly operations. Others are deified heroes, legendary mortal warriors, scholars, or officials whose extraordinary virtue, courage, or sacrifice in life earned them a promotion to divinity after death. Recruited into this corps, they bring their human ingenuity and understanding to the challenges of cosmic enforcement. This blend of ancient nature spirits and revered cultural heroes creates a uniquely versatile force, one that understands both the wild, untamed forces of the natural world and the complex moral landscape of human society. Their duties are as varied as their backgrounds, but all revolve around the central mandate of their commander: to hunt down and neutralize threats to cosmic stability. They are the celestial intelligence network, constantly patrolling the borders between the mortal realm, the heavens, and the demonic domains. When a prayer for help rises from a village plagued by a haunting, it is often a grassland god who is first dispatched to investigate, their forms shifting to blend in with the local populace. They are trackers without equal, able to follow the spiritual residue of a fleeing demon across vast distances or through different planes of existence. In larger conflicts, they act as Erlang Shen's lieutenants on the battlefield, coordinating tactical maneuvers and engaging lesser threats so that their marshal can focus his power on the primary enemy. They are the ones who secure the perimeter during a major operation, ensuring no malevolent force escapes the celestial net. The dynamic between Erlang Shen and his grassland gods is one of mutual respect and absolute loyalty, reflecting the Confucian ideal of a righteous hierarchy. He is not a distant, unapproachable general, but a leader who fights alongside them. His legendary strength and unwavering commitment to justice inspire a powerful devotion, while his own experience as an outsider who earned his place gives him an innate understanding of their diverse perspectives. In return, their loyalty is not born of fear but of genuine respect for his authority and character. This relationship is perfectly illustrated during the epic hunt for Sun Wukong. While Erlang Shen engaged the Monkey King in their legendary one-on-one duel, it was the grassland gods, along with other celestial forces, who formed a massive, impenetrable encirclement around the battlefield. They neutralized the Monkey King's simian subordinates and sealed off every possible escape route, their coordinated effort proving essential to the eventual success of the mission. This showcases their critical function. They are the force multiplier that allows Erlang Shen's strategic vision to be executed on a cosmic scale. Ultimately, the existence of the 1200 grassland gods completes the picture of Erlang Shen as a divine administrator and a pillar of the celestial bureaucracy. He doesn't just react to chaos, he presides over a proactive system designed to prevent it. This army allows him to delegate authority and manage the immense responsibility of guarding all creation. They are the embodiment of his extended will, enabling him to oversee the cosmic order not as a solitary vigilante, but as the head of a vast, efficient, and righteous organization. Their presence reminds us that even the most powerful individual's strength is amplified by a loyal and capable community, and that true authority in the cosmos is exercised not just through personal power, but through wise and just leadership. While his grand battles against figures like the Monkey King define his legend on a cosmic scale, the true foundation of Erlang Shen's enduring popularity lies in the countless smaller stories of his direct intervention in the lives of ordinary people. Beyond the celestial bureaucracy and the drama of heavenly rebellion, he served as a divine troubleshooter, the celestial marshal you would call when a malevolent spirit made your village its home. These tales of demon subjugation are the bedrock of his cult, the everyday miracles that solidified his reputation as a reliable and powerful protector. Let's explore a few of these gripping anecdotes that showcase the three-eyed god in his element, performing the vital, gritty work that earned him the faith of millions. Imagine a prosperous, peaceful village nestled in the foothills of a misty mountain. For generations, life there followed a serene rhythm until a strange malaise began to creep through the community. The village elders grew weak and confused, their vitality seemingly draining away overnight. Young men, once strong and full of life, became listless and pale. Whispers spread of a beautiful, solitary woman who had recently taken up residence in an abandoned manor on the outskirts of town. She was captivating, with an otherworldly grace that drew people in, but those who visited her would often return changed, their spirits dimmed. The village leader, fearing a curse, organized a group to investigate, but they found nothing, just an empty, decaying building. The people were terrified, trapped by an invisible predator they couldn't fight. In desperation, they burned incense and offered prayers at a small roadside shrine dedicated to Erlang Shen, begging the celestial marshal for deliverance. Their plea traveled up through the spiritual bureaucracy and reached the marshal's ear. Dispatched to investigate, Erlang Shen did not arrive with thunder and lightning. He simply walked into the village, his third eye already scanning the environment. To the villagers, he appeared as a handsome, traveling scholar, but his divine eye saw the truth they could not. A thick, clinging web of spiritual energy emanating from the manor, and at its center, the true form of the beautiful woman, a centuries-old silver-furred fox spirit. These creatures were known for siphoning the life force, or Jing, of humans to cultivate their own power and longevity. While the villagers saw a charming neighbor, Erlang Shen saw a parasitic predator feeding on his charges. He confronted the spirit, and when it tried to ensnare him with a powerful illusion of desire and affection, his third eye blazed, disintegrating the magical veil. The fox spirit, realizing it faced not a mortal man but the very god whose duty was to eradicate its kind, tried to flee, shifting into its true vulpine form to escape into the woods. But escape was impossible. With a silent command, Erlang Shen unleashed his heavenly hound. The the celestial beast gave chase. Its supernatural senses locked onto the fox's essence, and it swiftly ran the malevolent spirit to ground, bringing a definitive end to the haunting that had plagued the village. The people, witnessing the mysterious woman's disappearance and the sudden return of their health and vigor, knew their prayers had been answered, and their devotion to the three-eyed god deepened into an unshakable faith. Another tale originates from a busy trading town built along the banks of a wide, swift-flowing river. This river was the community's lifeblood, but it had also become a treacherous source of grief. Boats that attempted to cross at a certain bend would often vanish, dragged beneath the churning waters without a trace. Fishermen spoke of a powerful, unseen force that could capsize their vessels, and travelers told stories of a deep, angry voice that would boom from the river's depths just before a boat was torn apart. The local river god seemed powerless to stop it, his own authority usurped by a more violent entity. The people deduced that a powerful water demon, perhaps a corrupted dragon or a vengeful drowned spirit, had claimed that part of the river as its domain, demanding a terrible toll in lives. After a particularly tragic incident where a ferry full of families was lost, the town's elders gathered and composed a formal petition to Erlang Shen, casting it into the river as an offering. The celestial marshal, ever vigilant for such disturbances in the natural order, answered the call. He arrived at the riverbank, his third eye piercing the murky water and revealing the demon's form, a monstrous serpentine creature with scales like polished jet, using its powerful coils to create deadly whirlpools. A direct assault in the water would be risky and cause collateral damage, so Erlang Shen employed his strategic genius. He transformed into a simple fisherman and paid a local to take him out in a small boat directly to the treacherous bend. As they reached the spot, the water began to churn violently. The water demon, sensing a new victim, rose to attack. Just as its massive jaws emerged from the water, Erlang Shen revealed his true form, his divine aura blazing like the sun. He thrust his three-pointed spear into the water, not at the demon itself, but at the riverbed, channeling his power to temporarily solidify the water around the creature, trapping it in a prison of its own element. The demon, enraged and confused, thrashed against its constraints. Seizing the moment, Erlang Shen then used his transformative power to become a colossal, divine sturgeon, a fish king of the river. In this form, he engaged the demon in a spectacular underwater battle, his celestial strength overwhelming the creature's malevolent power. He subdued the demon, binding it with enchanted chains forged in heavenly fire, and dragged it from the river to face celestial judgment. The river, once a place of fear, was finally safe, and the town could once again rely on the waterway for trade and sustenance, their gratitude for Erlang Shen forever woven into the local history. Not all threats were so subtle or aquatic. High in a remote mountain range, a small, isolated village lived in the shadow of a different kind of terror, a mountain ogre. This was no clever spirit, but a brute of immense physical power and a simple, cruel appetite. The ogre would descend from its peak at night, its footsteps shaking the ground, to smash homes, carry off livestock, and sometimes snatch away any villager unfortunate enough to be caught outside. It was a being of pure, primal destruction, immune to reason and too strong for any mortal weapons. The villagers tried to appease it with offerings of food, but the ogre only grew more demanding, eventually threatening to destroy the entire settlement if a regular sacrifice of a human life was not made. Facing annihilation, the village shaman performed a ritual, beating a sacred drum and calling out Erlang Shen's name and titles into the thin mountain air, a desperate cry for help against an overwhelming physical threat. This was a challenge perfectly suited to the marshal's more direct methods. Erlang Shen descended from the clouds, landing on the mountain peak beside the ogre's cave. The ogre, confident in its own strength, roared a challenge, brandishing a tree it had uprooted as a club. Instead of resorting to transformations or complex strategies, Erlang Shen met force with sublime, disciplined force. He stood his ground, and as the ogre charged, he sidestepped the crushing blow, and with a single precise strike of his three-pointed spear, disarmed the colossal beast. The fight that followed was a display of sheer martial superiority. The ogre, relying on wild, powerful swings, was no match for Erlang Shen's celestial combat training. The marshal moved with a fluid grace, parrying and striking, his spear a blur of divine energy. He did not merely aim to kill, but to subdue and demonstrate the absolute authority of heaven. After a short but decisive struggle, he overpowered the ogre, binding it with spiritual ropes that neutralized its strength. He then compelled the creature to swear a binding oath never to harm humans again, transforming it from a terror into a reluctant guardian of the mountain pass. The villagers, witnessing their tormentor humbled and pacified by a single divine warrior, knew they had been saved by a power beyond their comprehension, and a temple built in that very spot became a permanent testament to the day Erlang Shen brought order to their chaotic world. These stories, from the cunning fox spirit to the brutal mountain ogre, are far more than simple adventure tales. They form the essential core of Erlang Shen's functional role in the Chinese spiritual ecosystem. He was the divine equivalent of a sheriff, a fire department, and a special forces unit rolled into one, a celestial first responder for any crisis too great for mortals to handle. This is precisely why common people for centuries have directed their prayers to him. When a family felt a sinister presence in their home, when a traveler faced a dangerous journey through bandit-infested or spiritually unclean lands, or when a whole community was threatened by a force of nature that felt maliciously intelligent, they would call upon Erlang Shen. They prayed to him not for abstract blessings or philosophical enlightenment, but for concrete, tangible protection. His reputation for effectiveness, built on countless stories like these, gave people genuine comfort and hope. He was a god who got his hands dirty, who would personally descend to their level to confront the very real monsters in their world, and that direct, actionable compassion is what carved his name so deeply into the heart of Chinese folk belief. That legendary first battle between Erlang Shen and the Monkey King was far from the final chapter in their storied rivalry. In fact, it established a recurring celestial dynamic, a kind of divine protocol. Whenever Sun Wukong's incorrigible nature led him into fresh trouble, violating some new heavenly decree or causing chaos that no other deity could contain, the celestial bureaucracy's first and most reliable recourse was to dispatch the three-eyed god. This created a long-running saga of encounters, transforming their relationship from a single, explosive confrontation into a complex dance of mutual respect, exasperated patience, and a grudging acknowledgement that they were, in many ways, each other's perfect counterpart. Erlang Shen became the designated celestial troubleshooter for the Monkey King's particular brand of anarchic genius, a role that showcased not just his combat prowess, but a deeper, more strategic form of persistence. Imagine the scene in the celestial court after that initial, earth-shaking duel. The Jade Emperor and his ministers now possessed a proven solution to the Sun Wukong problem. They had learned through costly experience that throwing entire armies at the monkey was futile. What was needed was precision, a scalpel rather than a club. And Erlang Shen was that scalpel, his unique combination of abilities, the truth-seeing third eye that nullified the Monkey King's illusions, the 72 transformations that matched his adaptability, and the unshakable discipline that countered his chaotic energy made him the only logical choice. So, when reports would inevitably filter up to heaven that Sun Wukong had stolen a rare medicinal herb, disrupted a sacred ceremony, or was simply causing a nuisance too grand to ignore, the order would go out, send for Erlang. This was not a punishment for the god, but a recognition of his unique competence. He was the specialist assigned to the cosmos's most unpredictable and powerful repeat offender. This recurring duty required a profound shift in strategy from their first all-out war. Erlang Shen could not approach every incident with the same level of overwhelming force. Sometimes the goal was de-escalation, containment, or simply reminding the Monkey King of the boundaries he was testing. There are countless minor tales and folkloric episodes that depict these later encounters, and they often reveal a fascinating evolution in their dynamic. In one such story, Sun Wukong is amusing himself by magically stirring up massive, chaotic waves in a great river, endangering mortal villages along the banks for no reason other than his own capricious entertainment. The local river god, powerless to intervene, appeals to heaven. Erlang Shen descends, but instead of immediately drawing his spear, he first attempts a more diplomatic approach. He might call out from the riverbank, his tone not one of anger but of weary authority. "Great sage, must you always cause such a mess for the little people downstream?" This opening acknowledges Sun Wukong's title, a nod of respect that was often the key to getting the monkey to even listen. Their subsequent interaction might involve a brief, almost playful skirmish, a quick exchange of blows, or a short, shape-shifting duel that serves more as a warning shot than a true battle. Erlang's goal here is not to capture and imprison the Monkey King all over again, but to enforce a celestial red line, to demonstrate that his watchful eye was always present and that certain levels of disruption would not be tolerated. This established a pattern of engagement that benefited both heaven and, in a strange way, Sun Wukong himself. For the celestial bureaucracy, it meant having a definitive and effective method for managing a chaotic element they could not eliminate. For the Monkey King, these repeated encounters with a worthy rival provided a kind of structured outlet for his boundless energy and pride. He knew that crossing a certain line would summon the one being in all the realms who could genuinely challenge him, and this knowledge imposed a subtle, unspoken limit on his behavior. Their rivalry, therefore, matured into a form of cosmic balance. They were opposing forces that kept each other in check, their periodic clashes serving as a release valve for pressures that might otherwise build into another catastrophic rebellion. Beneath the surface of this official enforcer and troublemaker relationship, a genuine, if unspoken, respect began to flourish. After countless engagements, they came to know each other's styles intimately. Erlang Shen could anticipate the Monkey King's tricks, and Sun Wukong learned to respect the unwavering principle and sheer competence of the three-eyed god. Unlike other celestial officials who might operate out of blind obedience or fear, Erlang Shen's actions were always guided by a clear, perceptive sense of justice. The Monkey King, for all his rebelliousness, could not dismiss him as a mere lackey of the system. In one particularly telling later myth, when a third party, perhaps a powerful, ancient demon from outside the celestial order, threatens both heaven and the mortal world, there are hints that the two might even engage in a temporary, wary alliance. The story suggests that Erlang Shen, recognizing the scale of the new threat, might be the one to approach the imprisoned or disciplined Monkey King with a pragmatic offer. He wouldn't beg or flatter, he would simply state the facts of the danger and appeal to the monkey's pride and his often overlooked sense of responsibility. "Great sage," he might say, "this creature threatens the innocent you sometimes claim to protect. Your power is needed." This scenario underscores the ultimate respect between them. Erlang Shen knows that Sun Wukong's power is immense and, when properly directed, can be a force for good. And Sun Wukong recognizes that Erlang is one of the few figures in heaven who sees his true value beyond his capacity for mischief. This long-standing dynamic ultimately reveals a crucial and often overlooked aspect of Erlang Shen's character, his immense patience and persistence. Dealing with a figure as brilliant and unpredictable as Sun Wukong was a celestial test of endurance. It would have been far easier to respond to every provocation with maximum force, to seek a permanent, final solution. But Erlang Shen demonstrated the wisdom to understand that some forces in the cosmos cannot be destroyed, only managed. His patience was not passive, it was a strategic, active endurance. He was willing to engage in the same game of cat and mouse time and again, not because he enjoyed it, but because it was his duty to maintain balance. This persistence showcases a maturity beyond the battlefield hero. It reveals the mind of a celestial administrator and a guardian who thinks in the long term, who understands that true order is not the absence of chaos, but the continual, disciplined application of principle to contain it. His enduring rivalry with the Monkey King, therefore, completes his portrait, proving that his greatest strength was not just in winning a single legendary battle, but in tirelessly upholding the peace for centuries that followed. Yet to truly grasp Erlang Shen's place in the spiritual landscape, we must move beyond the battlefield and into the quiet, disciplined halls of Taoist practice. While his legend is filled with the clash of spears and the roar of divine combat, his very nature as an immortal god who mastered transformation positions him as a profound figure within the Taoist pantheon, a celestial exemplar of the tradition's highest goals. He is not typically depicted as a secluded alchemist meticulously tending a furnace. His alchemy is one of active, cosmic enforcement. However, his hard-won immortality and his absolute command over his own form made him a powerful symbol and a potent ally for those walking the arduous path of spiritual refinement. Taoism, in its pursuit of harmony with the Tao, or the fundamental way of the universe, has long held the achievement of immortality as a central, though elusive, objective. This isn't merely a physical immortality, but a state of spiritual transcendence where one becomes a Zion, an immortal being, free from the cycles of rebirth and decay, possessing supernatural powers and existing in perfect alignment with the natural order. Erlang Shen stands as a living, breathing, or rather divine testament that such a state is attainable. His own journey from a half-mortal outcast to a revered celestial marshal mirrors the Taoist adept's own path of cultivation, transforming base existence into a refined, eternal state of power and purpose. This connection becomes especially potent when we consider the concept of inner alchemy, or Niden, a complex system of spiritual practices aimed at forging an immortal spirit within the practitioner's own body. Instead of using physical ingredients like cinnabar and mercury in a laboratory crucible, the inner alchemist uses the substances of their own being, essence, energy, and spirit, known as Jing, Kai, and Shen. The goal is to circulate and refine these elements through the body's energy centers, purifying them step by step until they coalesce into a sacred, immortal embryo, a perfected spiritual self. Now consider Erlang Shen's signature ability, the 72 earthly transformations. On a literal level, this power allows him to become a bird, a fish, or a gust of wind. But on a symbolic level, it represents the ultimate mastery over one's own spiritual and physical form, a concept that resonates deeply with the aims of inner alchemy. The practitioner seeks to transform their chaotic, scattered energies into a unified, disciplined force. They strive to shift their consciousness from a state of worldly attachment to one of divine clarity. In this light, Erlang Shen's effortless metamorphosis can be seen as a metaphor for the completed alchemical process, where an adept struggles for years to achieve even a glimpse of spiritual transformation. Erlang Shen embodies its full and flawless realization. He is a being who has total command over the very building blocks of his existence, no longer bound by a single, fixed form, just as an immortal is no longer bound by the limitations of a mundane body and mind. This metaphorical connection naturally gives rise to a more practical one, the invocation of Erlang Shen as a divine protector during advanced spiritual work. The path of inner alchemy is not without its perils. Practitioners engaging in deep meditation or complex energy circulation techniques were believed to open themselves to various dangers, both internal and external. Internally, a misstep in guiding one's Kai could lead to spiritual imbalance or even physical illness, a phenomenon known as karma from practice going astray. Externally, the very process of gathering spiritual energy was thought to attract the attention of malevolent spirits, hungry ghosts, or even demonic entities that would seek to disrupt the practice, steal the accumulated energy, or possess the vulnerable adept. In this vulnerable state, a cultivator needed powerful protection. Who better to call upon than the celestial marshal whose third eye could see any approaching demonic threat and whose spear could vanquish it? Historical texts and local folk traditions suggest that some Taoist practitioners would mentally visualize Erlang Shen standing guard at the entrance to their meditation chamber, or would recite invocations to his spirit before beginning their exercises. They weren't asking him to perform the alchemy for them. They were seeking his unwavering vigilance. His presence created a sacred, protected space, a spiritual fortress within which the delicate work of inner refinement could proceed without fear of supernatural interference. His role here is a direct extension of his cosmic duty. He becomes the guardian of the microcosm, the individual's inner world, just as he guards the macrocosm of the celestial realms. Beyond mere protection, the very tools of his trade hold profound alchemical symbolism. Take his three-pointed double-edged spear. In the context of inner alchemy, this unique weapon can be interpreted as a symbol of the practitioner's focused intent and discerning mind, the tools used to pierce through spiritual obstacles and ignorance. The 3 points could represent the 3 treasures of Jing, Kai, and Shen, unified and directed toward a single purpose. The double-edged blade signifies the impartial nature of this work. The process of refinement cuts away both attachment and aversion, purging all impurities without discrimination. Then there is his third eye, the ultimate symbol of perception. In Taoist practice, the third eye is often associated with the location of the yin-tang point between the eyebrows, which is a major energy center. The opening of this eye of wisdom is a key milestone in spiritual development, granting the ability to perceive the subtle energy flows of the body and the true nature of reality. Erlang Shen's permanently open third eye represents this faculty in its fully awakened, perfected state. He does not need to meditate to achieve this clarity. It is his natural, constant condition. For the alchemist, he is the embodiment of the goal, to achieve a state of perpetual, unobstructed awareness that sees through all illusion, including the ultimate illusion of a separate mortal self. Ultimately, Erlang Shen's integration into Taoist thought showcases the beautiful syncretism of Chinese spiritual life, where epic mythology and profound philosophical practice enrich one another. He is a bridge between the popular imagination, which revels in his heroic exploits, and the esoteric traditions, which find deep, symbolic meaning in his divine attributes. He offers a compelling model for the aspirant, not as a god to be worshipped from a distance, but as a cosmic ideal to be internalized. The Taoist practitioner, in their quiet quest for immortality, could look to Erlang Shen and see a reflection of their own potential, a being who has mastered transformation, who sees with perfect clarity, and who wields his power with disciplined purpose to maintain harmony within and without. He assures them that the path, though fraught with internal demons and external distractions, is guarded by a marshal whose authority spans heaven, earth, and the deepest realms of the human spirit. To truly appreciate Erlang Shen's unique position, we need to step back and view the heavens not as a vague, ethereal realm, but as a vast and intricate administration, a celestial bureaucracy that mirrors the imperial courts of ancient China. This is a foundational concept in Chinese cosmology, where the universe is governed by a structured hierarchy of deities, each with specific duties, ranks, and departments, all ultimately answering to the supreme Jade Emperor. This wasn't a loose pantheon of independent gods. It was a divine government, and Erlang Shen's role within it is that of a high-ranking field marshal, a troubleshooter whose authority is both immense and precisely defined by his place in this cosmic chain of command. At the very apex of this structure sits the Jade Emperor, the celestial sovereign and Erlang Shen's own maternal uncle. This familial connection is the source of profound dramatic tension and complexity. On one hand, it grants Erlang a certain inherent status, placing him within the inner circle of the ruling family. On the other, it creates a relationship fraught with the baggage of their shared, painful history. The Jade Emperor, as the ultimate administrator, embodies the principle of cosmic order and the letter of celestial law. He is the source of the decrees that maintain balance across the three realms. Erlang Shen, however, with his personal experience of his mother's unjust imprisonment, operates with a deep understanding that the law's application can sometimes lack compassion. He serves his uncle's government, but his loyalty is ultimately to a higher concept of justice that he can perceive with his third eye. This dynamic makes him not a blind servant of the throne, but a critical, independent-minded official. He is the one the Jade Emperor must call upon when the system itself is threatened, precisely because Erlang possesses the power and the moral autonomy to act where others, bound by stricter protocol, might hesitate. Their relationship is a continuous negotiation between the absolute authority of the throne and the principled power of its most capable executor, a divine balancing act that is essential for the heavens to function effectively. Within this celestial court, Erlang Shen is far from the only martial deity. He exists alongside a pantheon of divine warriors, and his relationships with them help to further define his specific niche. Take Nezha, the Lotus Prince, for instance. Nezha is another immensely popular god of profound martial prowess, a child prodigy known for his fiery temper, his mastery of wind-fire wheels, and his cosmic ring. At first glance, they might seem similar. Both are powerful, youthful-looking warriors who serve in the celestial army, but their roles and temperaments are distinctly different. Nezha is often portrayed as a vanguard general, a divine shock trooper who leads the charge with explosive, sometimes reckless energy. He is a hero of the front lines, brilliant in direct assault. Erlang Shen, by contrast, is the strategic marshal, the commander called in when a situation requires more than brute force. His approach is more measured, relying on his truth-seeing eye and transformative cunning. During the campaign against Sun Wukong, they fought together, with Nezha serving as a key lieutenant in the larger celestial encirclement. This collaboration showcases how their skills are complementary rather than duplicative. Nezha provides the aggressive, direct military power, while Erlang Shen provides the overarching strategy and the specific counter to the enemy's most elusive abilities. They represent two different facets of celestial enforcement: raw, divine power and sophisticated, strategic command. An even more fascinating comparison can be drawn with Guan Yu, the great general from the Three Kingdoms period who was later deified as Guan Gong, the god of war and righteousness. Guan Yu's divinity emerged from his historical mortal life, where he became the ultimate cultural symbol of loyalty, brotherhood, and martial honor. As a god, he is often revered as a protector of law and order and a patron of martial arts and commerce. While both are seen as powerful, righteous enforcers, their domains of authority reflect their origins. Guan Yu's power is deeply intertwined with the human world, with oaths, contracts, and social order. He is a moral exemplar. Erlang Shen's authority is more cosmic in scale. He deals with threats that originate outside the human realm: ancient demons, rebellious immortals, and chaotic entities that threaten the very fabric of reality. Guan Yu upholds righteousness within the human sphere, while Erlang Shen defends the celestial order that makes the human sphere possible. You might pray to Guan Yu for courage in battle or integrity in business, but you would call upon Erlang Shen when your village is being haunted by a 1,000-year-old fox spirit or when a river dragon is causing catastrophic floods. One is a divine administrator of human virtue, the other is a celestial marshal for cosmic threats. This intricate web of relationships solidifies Erlang Shen's identity as a pivotal linchpin in the celestial machinery. He is the crucial link between the supreme authority of the Jade Emperor and the operational needs of cosmic security. He is the peer and collaborator of gods like Nezha, but his specific portfolio of abilities, his third eye and 72 transformations elevates him to the status of a specialist for the most complex and dangerous assignments. He is not a god of a single element like the dragon kings of the seas, nor is he a deity of a specific domain like the city gods who oversee mortal municipalities. His jurisdiction is universal, defined not by a place but by a function, to confront any being or situation that poses a direct existential threat to the established heavenly order. This places him in a class of his own, a mobile, adaptable force of divine justice that can be deployed anywhere across the three realms. He is in essence the celestial government's ultimate special agent, wielding the authority of the throne and the power to see and act upon truths that others cannot, ensuring that the complex hierarchical cosmos continues to operate in a state of dynamic and righteous balance. But a figure as multifaceted and revered as Yang Jian is never known by just a single name. His identity is layered with different titles and epithets, each one revealing a distinct facet of his legend and his relationship with the people who worship him. To understand him fully, we must unpack the very names he is called, for in the world of Chinese mythology, a name is never merely a label. It is a story in itself, a container for history, status, and divine function. The most common name you will encounter is Erlang Shen. Breaking this down is our first step. The Shen simply means god or deity. The Erlang is far more interesting. It literally translates to second young master or Lord's second son. This is a deeply personal and familial title. It firmly places him within a family structure, specifically identifying him as the second son. This, of course, refers directly to his mortal lineage as the second son of his mother, the goddess, and his mortal father, Yang Jian. The name serves as a constant, subtle reminder of his unique origins. He is a god, but one born from a specific, dramatic family history that forever ties him to both the celestial and mortal realms. It's a name that carries the echo of his mother's story and his own half-mortal beginning, a title that feels more personal and approachable than a grand, formal epithet. However, the story of the name Erlang Shen may have even deeper, more ancient roots that his own legend eventually absorbed. Long before the tales of Yang Jian were codified in novels like The Investiture of the Gods, there were pre-existing folk beliefs in a powerful water deity known as Erlang. This earlier Erlang was often revered as a divine engineer and a tamer of floods, a god associated with rivers and irrigation who protected communities from the devastating power of water. Scholars of mythology see a fascinating process of syncretism here, where the popular, heroic figure of Yang Jian gradually absorbed the attributes and the very name of this older water god. Think of it as a divine merger, the compelling personal narrative of the filial son who battled the Jade Emperor and mastered incredible powers was layered on top of the established, functional role of a beloved local water deity. This fusion explains why so many of Erlang Shen's most famous temple sites and most celebrated miracles, like the taming of the river at Jiangdu, are directly concerned with water control. His legend didn't just create a new god from scratch, it poured new wine into an old, revered bottle, inheriting the authority and the devotional following of a pre-existing protector of the land. The name Erlang Shen thus becomes a bridge connecting a timeless, archetypal guardian of water with the specific, dramatic biography of the three-eyed warrior. Alongside this divine title, we have his personal, mortal name, Yang Jian. Yang is his family name, the surname he inherited from his mortal father, Yang Jian. Jian is his given name, a character that can carry meanings related to establishment, foundation, or even a heroic, upright quality. This is the name he was known by before his ascension to full divinity, the name of the determined young man who cultivated his powers and embarked on a quest to free his mother. Using Yang Jian in stories often grounds him in that earlier, more relatable phase of his existence. It emphasizes his journey, his struggles, and his humanity. When a myth refers to Yang Jian, it is frequently focusing on the narrative of his growth, his rebellion, and his personal sacrifices. It's the name of the character in development, the hero in the making, before he solidifies into the unchanging, official deity known as Erlang Shen. This distinction is crucial. It allows the mythology to explore his complex emotions and moral choices without the weight of his full celestial title, presenting him as a figure we can empathize with on a human level. Then we have the grand, official title bestowed upon him after his deeds had cemented his place in heaven. The mighty miracle god of the illustrious sage, or in Chinese, Zian Sheng Ying Lai Zhao Hua Yu Zhang. This is not a name for everyday conversation. This is his formal, bureaucratic title within the celestial court, the equivalent of a long and impressive diplomatic rank. Let's break down this magnificent mouthful. Zian Sheng means illustrious sage, a term of high respect. Ying Lai translates to brave and heroic or mighty, directly acknowledging his martial prowess. Zhao Hui implies to summon and gather, suggesting his authority to command forces like his 1,200 grassland gods. Finally, Yu Zhang is a classical term for a type of scepter or seal of office, symbolizing the formal mandate and power granted to him by the Jade Emperor. This entire title is a proclamation. It announces his official status as a recognized marshal of heaven, a god with a specific portfolio and an army at his back. It is the name used in formal documents, in official prayers from the celestial bureaucracy, and in contexts that require the full weight of his sanctioned authority. When you hear this title, you are not thinking of the rebellious son or the young cultivator. You are thinking of the established, powerful, and undefeatable pillar of the cosmic order, the ultimate enforcer whose might is recognized and sanctioned by the highest power. So, what does this symphony of names ultimately tell us? They reveal a deity who is accessible yet authoritative, personal yet cosmic. A villager praying for protection from a local ghost might simply and earnestly call out Erlang Shen, using the familiar, almost familial title. A Taoist priest performing a complex ritual to banish a powerful demon would likely invoke his full official title, the mighty miracle god of the illustrious sage, to ensure the full force of his celestial mandate is brought to bear. And a storyteller recounting the epic tale of his youth would refer to him as Yang Jian, drawing the listener into the personal journey of the hero. These names are not interchangeable labels. They are different keys for unlocking different doors to the same profound divine figure. They allow his worship to be both a grassroots, personal devotion and a formal, state-sanctioned practice. They show a culture adept at weaving together ancient folklore, personal narrative, and bureaucratic hierarchy into a single, cohesive, and endlessly compelling divine identity. Yet for all the clarity his third eye provides, the legacy of Erlang Shen himself is anything but a single, unbroken narrative. When we step back from the grand, unified stories presented in classical novels and look across the vast landscape of Chinese folklore, we find a figure whose myth is wonderfully malleable, shaped by time, region, and the needs of the communities that revered him. These scholarly debates and regional variations are not flaws in the legend. They are a testament to its vitality, revealing how a powerful deity is continuously reimagined to speak to the moral and spiritual questions of different eras and places. The most profound of these debates often swirls around the very nature of his justice, questioning whether his unwavering enforcement of celestial law makes him a righteous guardian or a morally ambiguous enforcer of a potentially unjust system. In the orthodox telling, his victory over Sun Wukong is a triumphant restoration of order, but from another perspective, one that often emerges in folk operas and local storytelling traditions, this same event can be viewed in a more critical light. Here, the Monkey King is not merely a chaotic rebel but a symbol of liberating individualism, challenging a celestial bureaucracy that can be stagnant, arrogant, and deeply hierarchical. From this vantage point, Erlang Shen's role is not altogether different from that of a celestial high sheriff, the formidable agent of the establishment sent to crush a populist uprising. His cool efficiency and absolute power can be framed not as heroic but as chilling. Does his strict adherence to the Jade Emperor's decree, an authority he himself once defied for his mother's sake, represent a betrayal of his own hard-won understanding of injustice? Some scholars argue that this tension is the very essence of his complexity. He becomes a tragic figure of sorts, a rebel who was ultimately co-opted by the system he challenged, his personal rebellion sanded down into official duty. This interpretation doesn't diminish him, it humanizes him, presenting a god who, like many in positions of power, must grapple with the compromises his station demands. His third eye sees truth, but it does not necessarily grant him the freedom to act outside the chain of command, creating a fascinating internal conflict between what is legally right and what is fundamentally just. This moral scrutiny extends beyond his famous duel into the smaller, grittier stories of his demon-hunting exploits. While most tales celebrate his protection of villages, others carry a subtle undercurrent of ambiguity. Consider a scenario where a so-called demon he subdues is not a malevolent entity, but a local nature spirit or the ghost of a wronged individual who has been branded a monster by the frightened or prejudiced inhabitants of a region. The heavenly edict delivered to Erlang Shen might simply read, "Eliminate the disturbance." His third eye would see the being's true spiritual form, but would it necessarily perceive the full context of its grievances? A strictly legalistic interpretation of his duty would demand its capture or destruction to restore peace. Yet, a more nuanced understanding of justice might call for mediation, understanding, and redemption. These alternate folk versions suggest that the celestial marshal's greatest challenge isn't always pure evil, but the complex gray area conflicts where the line between victim and villain is blurred. It raises the question of whether his power, for all its magnificence, is too blunt an instrument for every spiritual problem, painting a picture of a heaven that sometimes prioritizes order over empathy. Beyond the questions of his moral compass, the very facts of his origin are subjects of fascinating regional diversity. While the narrative of his mother, the Jade Emperor's sister, is the most widely known, other, older traditions present a completely different lineage. In some ancient Sichuanese and folk Taoist beliefs, Erlang Shen was not a nephew of the Jade Emperor at all, but rather a deified version of a historical Shu king or a legendary hydraulic engineer named Lai Bing or his son, who were revered for taming devastating floods. This connection to water management is incredibly strong in certain regions, so much so that his primary identity there is not that of a celestial warrior, but of a divine engineer and protector against floods. In these local cults, his three-pointed spear is less a weapon and more a symbolic tool for dredging rivers and cutting canals. This alternate origin story fundamentally changes his character. He is not a figure born from celestial scandal and personal tragedy, but a mortal hero who achieved divinity through immense public works that saved countless lives. His divine power is an extension of human ingenuity and perseverance, making him a much more earth-bound, accessible figure. This isn't a contradiction to the national myth, it's a layer of it, showing how a national deity is built upon the foundation of numerous local heroes and gods, their stories merging over centuries into the composite figure we know today. Even his ultimate fate and the nature of his devotion are interpreted in wildly different ways. In the mainstream Buddhist-influenced cosmology that often frames these stories, deities like Erlang Shen are still subject to the wheel of karma and reincarnation, their positions earned and potentially temporary. Some obscure textual fragments and folk beliefs hint at a much more final and solemn end for the god, suggesting that after eons of service, he eventually chose to withdraw from the celestial bureaucracy entirely, perhaps disillusioned with its politics or seeking a higher form of spiritual liberation beyond the duties of a marshal. This echoes the journey of many cultivation heroes who ultimately seek to transcend even the heavens themselves. In stark contrast to this solitary end, the vibrant, community-focused festivals like the Daoshan Gong present a god who is anything but distant or retired. In these celebrations, he is a living, present force, intimately connected to the annual cycles of planting and harvest, his power invoked through collective joy and theatrical reenactment. Here, he is not a cosmic bureaucrat but a local patron, his legend not a closed book but an open, ongoing relationship with his people. These competing interpretations, the transcendent ascetic and the communal protector, show that there is no single, true ending to his story. His myth is a living entity, and its conclusion depends entirely on the beliefs, hopes, and needs of the community that is telling it. From his dramatic birth born of forbidden love and celestial wrath to his ultimate ascension as a marshal upholding the very order he once defied, the epic journey of Erlang Shen reveals a figure of profound and captivating contradictions. He is the ultimate celestial enforcer, whose third eye perceives absolute truth and whose spear can subdue any rebellion, yet his own heart was forged in the fires of personal tragedy and a son's unwavering devotion. This unique fusion of nearly limitless power with deeply human vulnerabilities is what elevates him from a simple warrior god to a timeless and deeply relatable archetype. He is not a distant, perfect deity, but a complex being who grapples with the tension between duty and love, between the rigid letter of celestial law and the deeper call of righteousness that he alone can see. His story resonates because it mirrors our own struggles, reminding us that true strength is not the absence of conflict but the courage to navigate the impossible choices between our responsibilities to the world and our loyalties to our own hearts. His legacy is a testament to the idea that the most compelling heroes are those who bear the scars of their battles, both external and internal, and who use their power not for blind conquest, but for a justice tempered by hard-won wisdom and empathy. So, as we conclude our exploration of this three-eyed guardian, let us hold in our minds a final, powerful image. Picture him not in the heat of battle, but in a moment of eternal vigilance. He stands poised at the celestial frontier, his divine armor catching the light of 1,000 stars, the loyal form of the Zyroshan Quan silent and watchful at his feet. His third eye is open, a radiant beacon that pierces through the veils of all realms, eternally scanning for deception and disorder. This is Erlang Shen as a permanent fixture in the cosmic architecture, the unwavering marshal whose gaze ensures the balance between chaos and order, whose very presence is a promise that truth will always have a champion. He is more than a character in an ancient text. He is a living symbol in the cultural imagination, a divine reminder that even in a universe of gods and monsters, the values of loyalty, clarity, and principled action are the true sources of enduring power. The world of Chinese mythology is vast and filled with countless other incredible tales of gods, heroes, and mystical beings, each with their own lessons and wonders. We've journeyed through the legend of Erlang Shen, but now we would love to hear from you. What are your favorite stories from this rich tradition? Is it the mischievous adventures of the Monkey King, the compassionate journeys of Guanyin, or perhaps another epic that has captured your imagination? Share your thoughts and favorite Chinese mythological stories in the comments below. Let's continue this exploration together and build a community of storytelling and discovery.